What's up, everybody? Ron Bain with the Hunting Dog Podcast. December 23rd. Are you done with your Christmas shopping? I am. You know why I'm done with my Christmas shopping? Oh, hang on a minute. I'm done with my Christmas shopping because I had the great fortune of having 3 daughters. And Jessie, my youngest daughter, she lives not too far from here, so all the packages I did mail order went to her house. They're all stacked up on my desk. All I got to do is wrap them. That's right, I wrap. Literally, when I was a little kid, I looked forward to Christmas because my sister Pam, that's my daughter Kelsey's dog. Oh my God. Hang on a minute, I'm going to have to let him out. If you ever get a chance to get a free Labrador, don't do it. Anyway. Oh, where was I? So Jessie did all the online shopping for me, all that we just went through it together, and then she delivered them all to the kennel. I got the counter all cleaned off, and tomorrow I wrap because we're not going to celebrate Christmas till the 26th because my daughter Mackenzie and her husband and my grandson, now he's kind of like standing, almost walking, and now it's going to be cool to see him. They're coming up for a whole week. They're going to be here Christmas Day night. So I got 2 days to wrap presents, which won't be bad to do. Oh, I was telling you. My sister Pam, she was one of those people that should have worked at Macy's as a kid. She used to be just fanatical about wrapping paper, and I mean folding the edges. And she literally taught me. I'd just hang out with her, and we'd wrap presents. And I am one of those guys that I should probably do origami. Seriously. When it comes to, I don't do anything, woodwork, metalwork. I'm a good welder. I'm a half-ass carpenter. I can wrap a Christmas present like you paid someone to do it. That's the truth. Anyway, so I'm sitting here the 23rd, just got off work, got to get this loaded up for you guys so you can listen to it before Christmas or during the week when you're off or whenever. And let's go right through, let's just run through the diatribe. Patreon patrons always, number one. Purina Pro Plan, Gunner Kennels, Orion Coolers, Beretta Shotguns, Mountain Op Supplements, Onyx Mapping Systems. Now, Onyx Mapping Systems has got a 20% off promo code using HDP. Now, truth be told, and it's another Matt. They're all Matts. I like 3 of my sponsor contacts are all named Matt. Anyway, it's going to be hard to track any success because right now you can get 20% off Onyx Mapping Systems by using the promo code HDP. You go online, go on Facebook, and they got a holiday 30% off. I don't know what they're thinking, so pay attention. If you're going to do it, tell them you listened to the show. Tell them you heard about it through me, but go online and look for the 30% discount. I mean, come on, be serious. Know where you stand, know where you hunt. That's still my favorite app. In fact, I'm actually gonna give that as a gift to my son-in-law. How about that? What else? What else did I cover? Gumleaf boots. No promos going right at the moment, but I'll tell you what, you always get free shipping on Gumleaf boots. It's too late to do the Christmas special, his and hers, that's all over. But in the new year, we're going to have a whole bunch of different programs. But right now, I guarantee you, if you call Jack, obviously, not tomorrow or Christmas, but you call Jack in the new year, before we even start a promo, you call him up, tell him what you're interested in, I guarantee you, he will give you something on top of free shipping. Period. If he doesn't, you call me up, I'll cancel his whole thing. I will, honest to God. Backridge Ammunition, you heard me talk about what Adam did for that fella over in New York. I think it was New York. Second day mailed him some paper shells because he ordered plastic shells and they were for his dad. There's going to be a happy Christmas morning when he opens that up. I hope they shoot something with him the next day. Well, I told you I went to the BHA Pint Night out in Oxford, Michigan. You're going to hear a lot more about BHA in the upcoming year at least, for sure. And here's a news flash. I was asked by BHA to come out to the big rendezvous in Idaho and do a campfire talk and do some dog demonstrations. So how's that? There's a little surprise notice. Now, I haven't gotten my flight reservations, but I have been told through reliable sources that they want me to come out there and yammer on about my use of public lands, which has been, over 20 years, 35, last 30 years, I've been using public lands. I didn't even know I was on public lands. Well, I did, but I didn't put the emphasis into it. So I'm really glad that we're going to do more stuff with BHA. It looks like we're going to have a brewery sponsor in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I'm not saying 100% sure. I'd say it's about 85% sure. And we're going to have some live podcasts. We're going to have some Instagram live podcasts. We're going to be doing some BHA pint nights blended in with Rough Grouse Society or Pheasants Forever. Anybody that wants to come in. 2019 is going to be really cool, especially if you live within driving distance to Grand Rapids, Michigan. Sweet. Taffy's back in the kennel. I'm ready to take her to Virginia. I wish I could leave tomorrow. That dog is unbelievable. I don't even want these Broncos anymore. Honest to God. Well, you know I'm lying. Anyway, so did I cover everybody? Yeah. Yep. I don't think I missed anybody. If I did, my bad. Anyway, this episode, this is the first part of a two-part. There was so many questions this time. So many questions for Justin that I gave them to him a week early, and then he categorized them into retrieving or range or obedience questions, and literally the clock was going by and we weren't even halfway through them. So this is part one where we had to stop. He had to get home. I had to get home. If I didn't get your question answered, I'll bet you'll be able to get your question answered just by listening to this episode, okay? Just think about applying it to you. But if it didn't come through, resubmit it to me. We'll do another one in the spring. I'll put it on the top of the list. If it's truly different than anything you hear on this one, I want to address it. I want to help you guys. Justin wants to help you guys. And I hope you enjoy this episode. I guarantee you this is one you're going to listen to a couple times because I learn stuff every time I'm out there. And I wish he was one of my teachers in grade school. I might actually learn something. Oh, and you really thought I did that in 7 minutes and you didn't have to listen more. Anyway, something else. My buddy Doug, he has been taking care of Instagram. It's been growing. But if you are somebody who is on Instagram, and I suspect most of you, over 60, 70, 80% of you are on Instagram. If you are not on Instagram, you've not gone to my page, get on there. We need followers. This is going to help me get some more stuff that's going to get me on the road, doing more podcasts. Apparently, everybody likes to see big Instagram numbers. So please go on Instagram. We're putting more pictures, more content up, and we're going to have those live Instagram question and answers and live Instagram podcasts coming up. Please, I don't even care if you do iTunes rate and reviews anymore. That wouldn't hurt if you did, but that's going well. I need you guys to focus on Instagram. If you haven't. If you have, I apologize for the interruption in this program. 3, 2, 1. Justin, we're on the air.
Good deal.
Hey, everybody, it's Ron Bain. You know that. With the Hunting Dog Podcast. And I'm at Justin McGrail's Black Creek Training Center. Right?
Here we are.
That
is the official name. Dog Training Center.
Dog training. Not just that's Black right. Creek. Like, you're not training Black Creeks.
No, that's right.
Black Creek
Dog
Training Center.
That's correct.
And just so everybody knows, I just picked up Taffy, who Justin squeezed in here before he goes out on his winter guiding trips after Christmas.
Yeah.
And he got Taffy crazy on quail and shot over and gun ready and not collar conditioned, but used to wearing a collar.
Not listening either. I got her not listening real good too.
She's a sweetie. And he's actually got her sitting before we go outside of a door. I don't know you know how long that's going to take me to unravel. About 2 days. I promise I'll try to do better with her.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm all excited. In fact, I sent Patreon patrons a video clip of her quail retrieve, which I had a little thing in the back of my head watching her play retrieving at home go downhill as far as like I could just keep throwing it for myself.
Yeah.
Where in the beginning it was here it is. I kept thinking, boy, if he shoots a quail for her, we're going to see something terrible. We didn't see anything terrible.
No.
I mean, we saw typical
little puppy, yeah.
Hold it for a little bit, look at it.
Sure.
But we turned our back on her a little bit, and she was like, "No, I got to show you this bird."
Yeah, she's
and
got
then she
great
comes in and
instincts, yeah.
presents the bird to you.
She did,
basically.
and we had things set up to make sure we could, try and get that to happen. She got great instincts to hold and carry.
Yeah.
But warm, limp, dead birds that's a new thing to her just this last week.
Yeah.
So that dropping and mouthing a little bit is normal. Figuring out how to carry them. It's a new object than what she'd been retrieving around your place. It's not a stick. It's not a ball.
Right.
And she's going to be a fantastic retriever. Slightly possessive with them, which is totally normal for puppies.
Yeah.
That's their prize. That's their trophy. But we had our little puppy cord in place to work her through that.
And just to let everybody know, Justin is a pretty good shot, but he did manage to miss 2 quail.
I did.
I will say one of them was about 75 yards away, and I wouldn't even have wasted a 20 gauge on it.
I'm just making that gun-bird connection for your dog. I'm doing it for your dog.
But the dog also learned that everything that's shot is not a bird, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you miss birds.
Way more of them fly off than come down.
They never come down.
In the span of a dog's life, and they need to figure that out.
It was really neat watching her, and I've seen it with my own dogs, but it's kind of neat stepping back and then coming back to see your own dog do something. Because there's never been a time where I had 2-week chunks of not seeing my dog progress.
Yeah.
And to watch her, when I dropped her off here and brought her here before for a little fun walk, she was interested in birds, and if she smelled birds, then she kind of turned into a hunter, and then she kind of go back to just dawdling and just 5-month-old puppy.
Yeah.
But 2 weeks later, she didn't slow down the whole time we were walking.
No, that search come on.
Her. Yeah. I even asked Justin, I says, can this dog actually hunt for a full hour when she's full grown? Because she'll wear herself out.
Yeah.
And he said, yes, she can.
She's got a motor in her. She's got huge genetic drive. You know, you watch her now after being in birds for 2 weeks. That's 100% of what's on her mind now.
Yeah.
Finding birds.
And I better go find her some birds.
And if you're going to have walks where you don't, that's part of life. That's fine.
Right.
But she's at that point where we've sufficiently built that, and now we need to try and get a steering wheel on it. If I wasn't getting ready to leave and all that, I'd say, okay, let's leave her a little longer and let's start, getting a handle on this.
Right.
So
I've got a little homework to do.
You do.
But I can't wait to get her home and spoil the death out of her. Get her back to the Broncos. So we are going to do something. This time I brought a lot of the questions, almost all the questions, to Justin a week and a half ago, so he had time to put them in categories. Because believe it or not, everybody, most of you have the same problems. I mean, I shouldn't say most of you.
They fall into kind of common categories.
Yeah. There's pointing problems. There's retrieving problems. There's steadiness issues.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever call steadiness a problem, because that's
not a problem.
That's a taught thing. Mm-hmm. That's an obedience command.
Yeah, it's often perceived as a problem because it's an area people struggle with their dog. They're having a problem achieving that level of training.
And I want some of you to know that, I told you to get me questions within 2 weeks. Obviously, the people who wanted to get help, boy, they jumped to the stick and they got it. And I've got a lot more. We'll do again in the spring. Sure. When Justin comes back, and I'll see how bad I screw up Taffy in the next 3 months before you come home.
Oh, you'll be fine.
And we'll do it again. So if I didn't get to your question, I just want you to know that if you listen, I hate to sound like that, if you peel the layers back on what Justin's saying, a lot of this will apply to your dog that I might not have got the question answered to.
Yeah, and everything. We got 50-some questions laid out. For your listeners, you should see my desk. I got this pile of questions in front of us. Yeah. And anything we don't get to, we're not going to throw it in the trash.
No.
We'll set it aside for next time. Yeah. And so that's how we'll do this.
We have 2 questions. Now, it's possible we have more military veterans that may not have put their title down on their emails or anything, but we're gonna go with the thank you for your service.
Let's start with him.
To our veterans.
Yeah.
So Anthony writes, huge fan of the podcast. I hope you can solve a mystery pertaining to my 3-year-old American Brittany. I bought him from an excellent kennel. He's got all the energy in the world. Couldn't be more birdie. He has an excellent nose. Loves to hunt. You think he'll send me that dog? So far, I got a dog I like. Will Woe remain steady after birds have flushed? And I'm in my mid-20s. This is my first gun dog.
I have owned or trained, but he certainly will not be my last. It's apparent that I have failed to properly train certain areas or techniques, with force fetching being the most obvious. While it bothers me to have the bird dropped 5 feet in front of me, this is something I can live with. What's more debilitating and counterintuitive to our hunt is the time that the dog spends walking and scenting with everything that he has. Oh no, I'm sorry, I missed the sentence there. Walking so close behind me that each heel catches his chin. He will start the hunt working and scenting everything with everything that he has, working at a desired length in front of me. Desired distance in front of me, without a care in the world. All of a sudden, he will lose interest and begin trailing me as closely as possible, even jumping on my back. And to let you know, Justin said, I've never heard of it. Justin has encountered this before and has heard of it. So the duration, this does not last the duration of the day, but it does seem to last for an hour or so. It seems completely unprovoked. I haven't noticed a trigger. And we guessed, we immediately think, there wasn't thunder and lightning, there wasn't fireworks, it wasn't a gunfire thing. I'm sure he would put that together.
I would think so. That's the
something
first thing
here
that would jump
right.
to your mind. But I think I think he would have noticed that as
Right.
that's a pretty obvious trigger.
Yeah.
Should be.
It should be.
Yeah.
So he noticed his behavior more when he's hunting pheasants in heavy cover, heavy cattails, or CRP. He has not seen it in the mountains when hunting grouse. So, tongue in cheek, we'd say,
hey, he's shooting at some grouse. No,
stay
not
in the mountains
seeing
for a
that.
little bit.
Yeah, well, yeah, but
right.
Yeah.
There's something, this dog has associated something.
Yeah. The only thing he can peg so far is that the
Heavy
end, or is
cover.
there a little more?
I know of another guy who seems similar behavior in bird dogs, but most accounts seem to be a singular instance, not reoccurring. What could be causing this?
Yeah.
What can I do to prevent it, to get him back in the fight when he starts riding on my ass? Any help would be appreciated. Thanks for the great content. Keep it coming.
Yeah, so I can imagine his frustration. Can you imagine being out there and your dog's doing good work, and then he says sometimes up to an hour?
Right.
This dog is walking along right behind him and jumping on his back and everything. So I'm sure he's frustrated. And with us not having been part of this dog's life and his life experiences for 3 years, his 3-year-old dog.
Yeah.
He's got the best insight, and the only thing that he thinks might be,
the only thing he can correlate it to
is cover.
Cover.
Right? And pheasant hunting comes along with that kind of cover.
Sometimes.
Yeah. He's talked about cattails and tall, thick weeds.
Yeah.
So the question I would have for him is it like you're going through sparse open cover and then all of a sudden you hit that cattail stand and here it is? That's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
It's the cover. It's the cover. Now, unfortunately, at 3, I would assume he's exposed this dog to that cover enough. The dog's had bird contact in that cover. It's probably not going to go away, and there's no training cure. He's not going to command that dog to go hunt when the dog is in that frame of mind. He's not going to train him out of that. That jumping up on his back from behind is pretty telling. Mm-hmm. And that's when I have seen it in a small handful of other dogs. Yeah. There's something creating anxiety in that dog, something he doesn't like about being where he is. Now, if it's not the cover, it's something else that has occurred in his life in that. The cover is triggering something in that dog to act that way. He's not going to be able to snap him out of that with a command.
Right.
This guy's best course of action, provided that he's given him plenty of exposure and it still is persistent, and we all have to do this with our dogs, is play on their strengths and try and avoid the areas that we know, hey, this isn't this dog's cup of tea. Yeah. There are all kinds of hunts that are opportunities that I'm going to pass on because you know what? The 3 dogs that I'm looking to work this morning, that's not the right deal for them. You know, it's not this, but it may be for another reason, a really small cover, and this is a pretty big running dog, or whatever the scenario is. I see he lives in Colorado, so Colorado offers a lot of variety for bird hunting.
You can get to Kansas pretty easy if you're on this side of the mountains.
Over eastern Colorado's got pheasants and quail. You got your mountain birds, and so at 3 years old, it sounds like the training is good in terms of dog steady, and he's not quite putting the birds in the hand, but he's got a real nice huntable dog, and if
Put
he
it
thinks
in his best situations that he doesn't see that behavior.
exactly,
Even if it takes a year of.
and if it's not the gun again, which I'm
Right.
pretty sure it's not, or he'd have seen it in any and all
Right.
shooting up in the mountains and everything. The odds of this guy's next dog doing this are like zero.
Right.
0.001.
Right,
Okay,
right.
so I'm sure he'll get another dog someday, and then he's got a pair, and he can use this dog for what it's good at. Hey, we're gonna go do a little rooster hunt down in these cattails. That's his other dog's hunt.
Yeah.
You got to go with the flow, and sometimes know when not to fight this.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. Don't.
No.
You know something. Well, we kind of went over some of these questions before we hit record, and you told a quick story, and I won't go along with it. There was a dog that had a quirky behavior,
Same behavior, minus
Same
the
behavior,
jumping. Yeah,
minus the
walk
jumping.
in right at my heels.
and it turned out that dog, when it got around bear scent,
bear scent.
which would be
Yeah.
turned over rocks,
Yeah.
bear scat,
Or actually unknowingly bumped a bear out of
Right.
bed and hits that bear scent.
and until you put that all together with your buddy and his dog,
Yeah.
you're like, what's going on? But
going
you can
on?
put him in the truck, go to another spot.
Yeah.
He'd go right back to hunting.
Back and hunt. Yep. So something
So-
something happened with that dog in her
Same
youth.
thing with this dog.
Could be.
It may be a mystery you'll never solve.
It may be. Yeah.
So, you
it's
know.
interesting, the only thing is that cover. So whatever it is
Right.
tied to that cover.
Right. And sometimes desire will pull a dog through that, and sometimes it's whatever it is scared that dog enough.
Yeah, you're right.
Or, no, I shouldn't say scared. Left an impression enough on that dog.
Mm-hmm.
He just can't believe that it's not going to happen again.
not okay,
And I even
yeah.
thought before we hit record, like, I wonder if he did something different with and not saying he did. What if he did something different with a shock collar that he couldn't see his dog in? And in the mountains, you're hunting in the mountains. It's not like CRP cover with a beeper collar going.
Yeah.
I mean,
It could be so many things.
a dozen
Just
things
grabbing
it could be.
But something's causing anxiety in that dog in that environment.
Right.
And
take him out of that environment.
take him out of that environment
Yeah.
for now, build that confidence, and if it persists going on into the dog's fourth year,
Yeah.
you just got to go, it is what it is. I'm going to use him for what he's good at and be happy for what I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Anthony wrote, actually, before we had the podcast questions up, and I'll try to make this one short. This is the one that Justin's going to answer this one with one word, and then we'll go to the next paragraph. At what age do you feel confident in gauging a pup's potential? Can you really make an accurate assessment of 4, 6, or 8 weeks of age?
No.
Okay, next question. This is the same guy, and he wants to know. He does not think YouTube is a credible source of information. Justin liked the idea of that. At one time, so people know, I asked Justin if I could do a couple videos, and he said, yeah, that'd be fun. And he went home. Justin is not a computer guy. He's not a YouTuber. He's not a Netflix guy. And I guess he went home and saw a couple dog training videos on YouTube and says, Ron, there's no way I'm going to do anything on YouTube with you. I love you, but we're not putting anything out. I'll answer questions. We are not going to put something out. I'm not going to be in the ranks of YouTubers.
I don't want to go there.
And so Justin likes the fact that you don't think it's a credible source of information. But for gaining information, his last question was, should I call every kennel in the state of Colorado begging for opportunities to feed dogs and shovel shit in exchange for concrete knowledge?
So he doesn't have to call every kennel, but I find the nearest pointing dog trainer that's been there a while.
Yeah.
And if he's amenable to it, that'd be a great way to do it. Say, can I
How could you
tag
go
along?
wrong?
You couldn't go wrong.
I know
you really
trainers
could.
that if you get a dog from them, even if you don't, as long as you are their bird boy and plant birds and help out, they'll help you out.
Yeah, hands-on is the way to learn anything.
But shoveling
right?
shit, that's going to get you
So what?
somewhere.
No, you show up early, get that knocked out, and then you go watch some dogs work. And this guy,
learn.
instead of just working his one dog, he'll go out with that pro and he'll work 10 or more dogs in a day
Right.
with him. And
Right.
so he's going to learn something from each of them. So that's a great idea. If you have the time and you can find a trainer that's open to it,
That's how you started.
by all means, pursue it. I did. Yes, and I still clean
How old were
kennels
you when you
every day.
started,
I was 15. Yeah, I had
15 years old.
didn't have a driver's license. My mom gave me a ride
Over to the kennel.
and over to the kennels.
Okay, I'm going to truncate this one. This is another fella that served. Actually, he's at Fort Bragg in North Carolina, and there's some quail and
I
woodcock.
have heard. I'm funny you say that because I've
Hey,
heard that from
hey,
people.
Trevor, listen.
Yeah.
I want you to get a little quail and woodcock information before us. But anyway, He's moving back to the northwest suburbs of Chicago, my hometown, in about 8 months when his service has ended. His real question is, at the point, he's got a 6-month-old Brittany. They were involved in a hurricane. The breeder called him up. One of the other Brittany puppy owners lost her home. His wife said, "Oh my God, let's take the other one because it needs a home. It'll be with its brother and sister." What should he...
They have 3 now?
No.
Oh, 2.
They have 2.
Okay.
Litter mates.
Yeah.
Not on purpose.
Yeah.
Hurricane related.
Yeah.
A couple do's and don'ts when you have litter mates. And we know we always suggest don't, especially.
Always, yeah.
Because you end up comparing them to each other. Yeah. One develops faster, one retrieves better. Why can't you be like your sister?
It's one of the reasons. But, the other trap is that the tendency. How old are they now?
6 months.
6 months.
Like, yeah.
The tendency too is to like always do everything together with them.
Yeah.
Run them together, try and do retrieving together, put them on birds together,
right.
and not only are they going to be maybe more competitive with each other than can be beneficial for training, but oftentimes, especially if you buy them at 8 weeks old together, as they grow up, they're bonding to each other more than they are to you.
Right.
You kind of want to become their new, one and only.
You want that goose egg to open up and imprint on you.
They're each other's ally, not your ally, right?
Yeah.
And so you got to be cautious of that. You need to do a lot of independent stuff with them.
Yeah.
And then the point you made is very valid. One of them is going to come on earlier than the other.
They can't be identical twins.
No, they can't be. And then sometimes that's the dog that'll get more time or something like that. So just remember, they're going to come along on their own speed.
Yep.
Just because one is doing this and one isn't doesn't mean that at 3 years old.
Do separate training.
Always.
Don't train one in front of the other one while he's in his cage. Treat him like you got 2 brothers that you can't put in the same bedroom together.
Yeah.
Right?
And they can, I think a dog is really designed to have another dog in its life, but when they do.
Yeah.
But when it's, and let them have their buddy time around the house and in a hopefully fenced yard, let them ram around and be pals. But when it's time to work, separate them. Now, you can hunt them together. And this is a rule of thumb I have for not just litter mates, but any young dogs. I don't like to put them with another dog in the field until they're doing good work on their own and focused on the job. And anything before that, I think, is counterproductive. So
All right, so you can make it. You got two wives. You got 2 Brittany's and a wife with a big heart. So you just keep them separate. Treat them like 2 different kids.
Yeah.
They're not going to learn math at the same speed. They're not going to learn English. One of them may become a doctor, and one of them may become a dog trainer.
It could be. Oh, man.
Anyway, thanks, Trevor. All right, where are we at now, Justin? We got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. These are going to be range questions, okay? You want me to read the 4 of them?
No,
just take them and we'll try to...
Yeah, let's see how this goes.
We may.
Yeah.
All right, question for Justin. I have a 1-year-old Brittany pup that is halfway through her first season. Okay, so a little over a year. She works birds very well, has a great nose, tends to range a little too far for my liking. I use her as a guide dog and do a lot of mentor hunting as well. I plan on testing her in NAVDA, good for you, and was wondering how I can get her to range closer to me. She stays with me if I turn without commands, so she's cooperative, she's moving with him. She likes to be a little further out than he likes.
Yeah.
Tends to get a little too far out before checking in. Is there anything I can do, or will she grow out of it? I don't think she'll grow out of it.
No. First of all,
that's the non-trainer.
A tip
answer.
of our hunting cap to this guy for being a mentor to some youth hunters, right?
You assume
so
it's
many.
youth. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah.
And so that's great. Thank you for doing that.
Right.
Everybody should take a little time
to take to the preserve and help some kids out.
Or even if it's mentoring an adult who's brand new. We all need somebody, right? So great that he's doing that. I'm curious, how far is too far? If you ask 10 hunters, you'd probably get 10 answers. You know, can't be too terribly far because he says when he turns, she swings right around
she's not
with him.
half a mile
she's not
away.
gone.
Right.
But whatever the numerical distance is in his mind, that's too far.
Well, you remember when you asked for listeners to give more information?
Yeah.
In the last sentence says Ohio upland. So, okay, he's not in Wyoming.
No.
So,
and
what's too far? You're right.
Yeah.
What's too far in Wyoming may totally different than what's too far in Michigan.
What's too far for him on average Ohio preserve is probably not near far enough
For somebody who
and
lives
some
out-
western hunting.
Yeah.
And but regardless, you know, he hunts where he hunts, and he needs a dog that works how he needs it to work.
He wants to work some range.
Yeah. So, turn signal work. You need to be able to turn that. The dog is kind of doing it on its own, but he says, you know, she's going a little long between check-ins for him.
Yep.
Yeah. So that change direction on cue. That is the number one tool in your arsenal to control a dog's range.
Now, is that considered a steering wheel or a blinker? Which is that? Is
Yeah.
that a full steering
Yeah.
wheel? Or is that just a blinker to get him to...
Yeah, and we don't want to try and use a real big bad handling habit I see is reverting to come when called. My dog's too far away, come back to me.
Okay.
Come when called, she means stop hunting, come all the way in, and park it next to me until I kick you loose again.
Mm-hmm.
To control range and or pattern, we don't want our dog to quit hunting and come all the way to our boots. We just need him to turn. Don't go for any further that way. Turn and come back this way.
Right.
Now we've got a way that we can influence where that dog is applying his go,
Right.
his search.
Right.
And through that, now he's going to be able to adjust the dog's range to a certain extent. What you can and never will do with a dog is change his gait. He is at the mercy of his genes. That is how
as far
he's
as
going to
covering
hunt.
ground.
Covering ground.
Yeah.
Some dogs are going to hunt at a flat out run, and you're not going to untrain them. You can go out and wear them down. You know, go for
put
a
some
ball.
logging chains on it?
No, some people used to.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, go take him for a 4-hour hunt, and he'll be pretty close by the end of that,
Yeah.
right? But that's different than training and being
Right.
able to handle him.
Right.
So get the good old-fashioned check cord out, put your hours in on that.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever cue you choose, this means turn,
Yeah.
whether it's whistle or verbal. And don't worry, at the end of the road, you're not going to have to command that turn every time. That's
Right.
through repetition and training, the dog will learn that's where I do my work.
Right.
Is within these parameters.
Right.
I tell people that I'm working with, I want you to think of it as a moving invisible fence. Mm-hmm. And your cue, that turn, is your cue to the dog that you're approaching the allotted
Wolf.
boundary.
Yeah.
That's the boundary.
Yeah.
It's always moving out in front of you.
Right.
Whatever that is, whether it's 40 yards or 140.
So that's going to start with yard work and a check cord.
Always.
Yeah.
That's where you start. If they're not going to listen to you at the end of a 20-foot rope, you don't have a prayer when they're loose and hunting.
Yeah. Let me tell you, everybody, there's more check cords hanging around this kennel than you could shake a stick
If
at.
you can't find a check cord at your dog trainers, you need to keep moving.
You go to another dog
Keep
trainer.
moving.
We found that out.
It works for me, anyways.
Now, well, it's
the foundation,
It's worked
yeah.
for how many 100 years?
Yeah,
There wasn't any e-collars there. You had to have a connection to your dog.
you did.
And that's a 20, 30, 40-yard rope sometimes.
Something you can get a hold of to show them what this means.
Right.
To teach them what things mean initially, and then going forward to
Yeah.
be able to reinforce that so the dog accepts, hey, this is something that he can back up. So.
Yep. Okay, we got another range question. 2.5-year-old GSP female, located in Southwest Virginia. I'm going to say between Roanoke. I'm going to be like NPR guys. Between Roanoke and Bristol. Okay, there we go. We do not have any birds in this area. Yes, you do. The grouse are way up high in the mountains. It says as the grouse have slipped away. Yeah. So this summer I was just taking dogs out and exercising them for a couple hours, about 3 times a week. My female started wanting to stay away from my other dogs, and I messed up and didn't pay much attention to the bad habit. Well, now season's back in, and I'm having a heck of a time trying to get her to hunt in range. What would you do to rein a dog back in to a range that you prefer? Kind of like the other guy.
It's exactly like the other guy.
Same thing.
Turn
You've
signal
gotta
work.
put the turns- you've
turn
gotta-
signal, turn signal, turn signal. Separate it from his other dog. It's kind of weird that dog some weird behavior, and now all of a sudden
Yeah.
it's transitioned into hunting, even though he's just trying to exercise him in the off season.
Yeah.
But regardless of whether you're fun running your dog for conditioning purposes in the off season,
You can learn a lot of bad stuff when you don't know they're learning bad stuff.
yeah, and so now when he's hunting, it's doing that. But that the exact same thing
Yeah.
solves that issue.
Yep.
Yep.
What did I say? I've hunted her alone on planted birds, but she still wants to go crazy deep and passes by a lot of the birds, especially if you know you're in a preserve. You know the birds are planted.
He knows where they are.
Yeah. And he's like, "You're too far."
Yeah.
Same thing. Steering wheel blinkers.
Yeah,
check cord work.
Yeah.
It's got to understand that
Turn means turn.
Toot means something.
Whatever your cue is, you can pick anything. They're
Right.
not born knowing what any of this means.
I like toot.
You like okay?
Hi, Ron and Justin. I have a 10-year-old English setter. Isn't that ESS?
No, that's a Springer, English Springer Spaniel. Oh man, so
You know what? 'Cause
you're
that's-
new to the
The
upland
flushing
flusher
world.
fold.
Right. Because we only have two symbols for everything in NAVDA, 2 letters. And I went ESS. That must be some weird English setter.
That's a Springer.
English Springer Spaniel that I hunted.
Great dogs. Yeah,
You like
I
them?
love that breed. You bet.
Not as popular as they used to
They
be.
were when I started, and maybe that's because the trainer I got my start with had a few really nice ones around, and so I got to maybe see more of them because he did a little bit of breeding.
They're
of
just like a
those,
big
and-
cocker, right? Kind of.
Well, I mean, they say similar job. They do the same job in a similar fashion. Let's just say that. But yes, as a whole, they are big.
Not as cute as Taffy, though.
Well, nobody's the cutest Taffy, is he?
Cute as Taffy. All right. English Springer Spaniel that I hunted stocked pheasants here in Pennsylvania, so people don't know that. Michigan doesn't have it. We're trying to get it. Pennsylvania does a great job of stocking pheasants for the resident hunters and non-resident hunters. And they do it all over in game lands, all over Pennsylvania. And I've hunted them. I hunted them 10, 12 years ago because I always had my dogs on a job, and I was doing a job in Pennsylvania, conveyor job. And a guy asked me, he said, "You here to hunt pheasants?" I'm like, "No, I just always bring my dog on the road. I'm by myself. I want someone to sleep with, you know. Better than losing your wife and half of your shit, right? I'd rather sleep with my dog." Sure. And he tells me that the state of Pennsylvania puts these pheasants out all over the place on a regular schedule. I'm like, "You're kidding me." And I always have a gun or two. And I went out, and it's an unbelievable program. So, I'm prefacing that because when you go out to game lands in Pennsylvania, you don't have a clue where the birds are.
Yeah.
I mean, all you know is that there's birds there. So it's not like you saw the guy put out 6 birds.
No,
in
well,
front
they
of you.
probably stop by once a week or every other week.
Every
or
other
something,
week
dump some
sometimes.
birds off.
And if you're not the first day there, then birds have scattered
Wherever
all
they
over
go.
the place. So, so he's been doing that on stocked pheasants in Pennsylvania. We go to Maine and South Dakota every couple of years. Great dog, and we have good success. My one issue with her is that I don't want to repeat with my second ESS, an 18-month-old female, is that she busts out too far, 60, 70, 100 yards. Sometimes it's flushing birds, oblivious to the whistle recall. This happens mostly when we get into a big group of pheasants. That's the worst place you can bring it.
Well,
I mean, concentrated bird population is going to be tough to teach anything.
That's where the dog's excitement level is going to
my
go
God.
through the roof.
Yeah.
Right? The tendency to blow you off is huge. Right.
Okay. And they're very sorry about it later. Maybe. This was get a big but she does punch out too far, even on grouse sometimes. So how do I keep her in a 23 to 25 yard range?
Ooh, well, you got her dialed right in.
I'd like it 23 and a half.
Okay.
And if it's not too late for her, how do I prevent this happening with the pup?
Yeah.
You know, it obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, it could be harder to train an older dog who's done repeated activities for 2 or 3 years.
Oh, for sure. And I didn't take from that he even has any hope of changing the 10-year-old. He just wants to make sure.
Well, how do I prevent this?
Yeah, right.
How do I prevent this from happening with the pup?
Right.
But he did say, how do I keep her in the 20 to 25 yard range? And if it's too late for her, how do I prevent this from happening to my pup?
Ah, okay. Yeah.
So it might be too late for her.
I would put all of my effort and energy into
pup.
the 18-month-old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At 10, if you've gotten along this okay and managed to shoot a few birds, you can do it for another couple seasons, hopefully.
That's like telling my dad to not swear when he became 70.
Right. Yeah.
He's still going to swear.
Right. So, but
It's not a church.
the answer is still the same. That turn signal.
Yeah.
Come when called. And the problem he's going to have is, and all these guys get to a point where initially trained, you can get responsiveness when there's nothing else really exciting,
stimulation.
super exciting stimulation going on. But it's when all of a sudden birds, right? All of a sudden we have a whole different animal on our hand.
Right.
And that's where the higher level of obedience to these commands is required to expect them to do that.
Yeah.
And so you're not done when that dog will turn when there's nothing going on. You gradually need to reinforce that in tempting and distracting situations.
Right.
You can collar condition your dogs properly. If you're not properly. Properly is the key
and
word.
let me tell you what that does not mean. Like my friends 9 years ago in North Dakota, every time their dog hit about 100 and some yards, they just shot them.
Some people use the term collar condition to mean, yeah, he's been shocked. That's not what we're talking about.
Condition.
No, that is not. So there's a right and wrong way to do it. Do some homework. We don't have time to dig into that.
Right.
And it's really a hard thing to explain. That really is something you need some eyes on, hands on.
Good YouTube
You can see
video.
the dog. No. You can see the dog. You can see the person who's very adept with good collar use, and then how to integrate that into those situations without taking anything out of the dog drive, desire-wise, as it relates to the bird.
To me,
that's a real art in dog training.
And I think the check cord, it's not an archaic tool, but
No,
it's been
you
around
can do it
forever.
with a cord, yeah.
You could do it with a check cord.
Yeah.
I mean, the people in England, in fact, I heard there's a movement that they're going to ban
Wouldn't doubt.
collars.
Sure.
Training.
And there's all kinds of times, funny you bring that up, that rather than reaching for my transmitter, I'm running a step on that cord.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because you're not. If nothing else, that dog's gonna get a nick in the neck for something that else that it could be encountering while it's running away with a bird or doing something.
He learns. You can back this up.
The leash is connected to you, so he knows you just touched him.
Yeah, I got a bunch of old training books, and they talk about starting with 100-foot cords on these dogs.
I have,
and then as the dog progressed in his
Shorten the
training,
cord
taking 10 feet off at a time. 10 feet off at a time, and now we're getting towards like a 2-year-old dog.
Right.
And and they would still keep running them with like 5 inches of cord dangling
the
from
dog
that
still
collar.
knows.
In his mind,
Isn't that like being collar smart?
sure, in his mind,
this
the
dog
boss
was-
man can still back it up, right?
That thing's still hanging on my withers or my.
Yeah.
And I will say that I am having a beer, and Justin's not. And this guy also wrote, I love the podcast, and it's inspired me to drink more beer. Thanks for any help.
Oh, beautiful.
I don't know if I've helped this guy's problem.
You
or not.
have. Okay.
But-
Done with it.
All right. Now we are on to some gun issues.
Just a couple this time
just a couple.
around, which is good. I like,
It's good. Either that or the people who had gun issues are too embarrassed to write questions because they didn't follow the last 3 podcasts. Good afternoon, Ron. I have a concern with my newly acquired started wire hair.
Oh, I remember proofreading this one.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to. Yeah, go ahead.
I have had him for about 3 weeks, and when I take him hunting, he shies away from gunshots. The dog is 1 year and a half old. So we are going to bust on my buddy Doug, who helped me immensely with Instagram, and has reconstrued or retyped these questions onto paper. And Doug, you're getting an A+ for organization and a D for spelling, because and this is not because I had 1.5 Miller Lights. I'm going to try to reread this. The dog is 1 year and a half old, 1.5 years old. Thank you, Doug, and has been through NAVDA. Now that doesn't mean it 1.5.
Yeah.
He couldn't have been through it, but he's been exposed to some maybe natural ability tests.
Be my guess, right?
And has had birds shot over him by the trainer without any problems. The dog was in Oregon. I flew him to Texas. Should I just let him be a dog and settle in more? Any help will be appreciated. I don't want to mess the dog up to have a high-dollar lap dog.
Yeah. This when I read this earlier, it really kind of pushed my buttons a little bit. So just so make sure I'm not making any incorrect assumptions. So in the NAVDA NA test, which I'm sure is probably when he says the dog has been through NAVDA, that's probably what this dog had.
Yeah.
Right. As far as exposure to gunfire during that test, what's involved with that?
We take 2 gunshots, and ideally in the first 1 to 2 minutes of our search.
Shotgun or blank?
Shotgun blank. Shotgun blank.
Okay.
In fact, we had to get rid of some of the brands which are too loud.
Okay.
And we typically have the gunner point the barrel behind us. Mm-hmm. And we typically have the dog 50 to 60 yards away from us and looking active. Never while it's peeing, never while it's figuring out the field. and we do it before they get into birds. Mm-hmm. So we want to see if we see a reaction, and every once in a while we do see a reaction or one that recovers again. So the gun exposure in NAVDA does not mean you have a gun-proven dog.
No,
it just means that when this dog goes out into a new place, here's a couple bangs.
Yeah.
It doesn't upset the dog.
The purpose is trying to screen for any genetic oversensitivity.
Right. Oh, it would be exactly. It would be oversensitivity.
Right, that's what you're really looking for. Okay, but you're not shooting birds with shotgun, live ammo, or anything like that.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
All right, and then so he's a year and a half old. Said the dog had birds shot over it by the trainer. Boy, so that can be. He shot a couple of pigeons that the dog was excited about, had his eyes on chasing, or it could mean the guy shot 40 game birds, or we don't know.
Right.
I mean, that statement, had birds shot by the trainer with no problems, there's a whole span that it could or could not be. Only the trainer can answer that. I will say this. The dog's introduction to the gun was not as thorough and sound as he thought.
Right.
And it sounds to me, the way I read that, he was led to believe he was buying a dog that was ready to hunt.
If I bought something that it said started, I would assume.
And had a bird shot over it. I would have said, hey, we're free and clear to go hunt this dog. And it sounds like he took him out and dog shied from gunshots. So the dog's gun foundation was weak. It was not any and all shooting in any and all context. And often the other thing, too, the bird's the trainer shot. Could have easily been dog pointed the bird gets up, got the eyes on the bird.
Everything was right.
One shot from the trainer. All of a sudden he comes down to Texas, and him and two buddies are hunting along, quail hunting. Covey gets up off to the left, the dog wasn't even involved with, and here's some auto loaders emptying out. Whoa, that's more than that dog's ever been exposed to, and unexpectedly.
I've had that with Oscar.
Sure, it could happen. Could happen. So he does need to take some steps backwards here. Get that dog out with no shooting on some birds. Make sure the dog's basically reintroduce the gun.
Right.
And
maybe get some help with it. I would.
First person to consult is the trainer.
Yeah.
The guy who did the work, whoever he bought the dog from.
Get on the phone with him.
Get on the phone. What's going on here? What do you, knowing the dog, what's the next step?
I'm even guessing from the distance they traveled, what was it? What did he say?
Oregon
to
Texas.
There's a pretty good chance.
Just flew the dog
he
to
did.
him.
And I flew him to Texas.
There you go.
So he didn't get to spend time at the trainers.
That's why it worries me.
Yeah.
So
if you're not seeing the dog run to the tailgate, crawl under the differential,
see that, the dog should go back. And he's got every right to ask for a different dog or his money back. Because the dog if he truly was not as ruined from shooting shotguns, he wasn't ready. He wasn't as
ready
represented.
To be sold as a
I'm not trying to throw some trainer on the bus, of course.
But that's what it is.
So
And what's the hardest thing to do though? Get a puppy or a dog. Get invested in it.
You're in love. Yeah, you're in love. Sure.
And like you said, I love this dog. It's great, but
I mean, give it a chance.
All is not lost.
All is not lost yet. I don't think.
All right. Same thing in a gun situation. Ron, I saw the post for Justin's questions. Wanted to know throughout my situation. I have an Italian Spinoni. Good for you. And it's about 1 year, 3 month old, and it's really only trained to whoa and recall. Oh, it's not bad.
If you're going to only teach two things, those are two great things to pay attention to if you have a pointing dog. Yeah.
She has done a really great job. I haven't needed to train her much. I have done everything myself and have her had over both pen raised and wild birds.
Good.
I was slow to introduce the gun to her. Only fired over birds while working away with a .22. She seemed to handle the gunfire until goose season this year. Was a little gun shy to the gun and did not want to retrieve. We've had the retrieving issues in the past. She stayed very close to me for the remainder of the hunt, which I cut short due to this. I'm not a huge waterfowl guy, but I was out trying to get a variety for the freezer. I mainly chase grouse and woodcock up in Michigan, and I've recently moved from Boeing. That doesn't matter.
Oh, where'd he move to? Orlando, Florida?
No. Okay. To the Eastern UP. So he's still up in good hunting. He went from Boeing to Eastern UP. And I have recently to Southeast. I'm sorry, he went to Southeast Michigan from Boise.
Southeast Michigan, okay.
Oh, okay. He's over in Detroit area, Ann Arbor. I have access to some nice pheasant habitat. After the goose situation, I had taken her out for a grouse. She did a phenomenal job of finding birds, which I did a phenomenal job of missing. After my third shot, she was done.
Ouch.
Ouch.
This guy's in trouble.
He didn't, I will say, and I don't want to throw anybody on the bus, he probably didn't read his dog well in the first shot. Because I'll bet you she showed a little something.
Or that one bird was all three. Bang, bang, bang.
Oh, well, that's
Autoloader happens all the time.
Yeah.
Pop, pop,
I
pop.
didn't think. I'm thinking 3 opportunities. You thought 3
I
shots.
figured early season grouse hunt, he emptied her.
Boy. So, buddy, I mean, we don't know if you took three single shots at 3 separate grouse.
Most likely. The dog wouldn't have been fine with 2 and folded up on the third. Yeah.
I'm guessing, just not sure what I went wrong or the thickness of the cover had anything to do with it. I'm going to say not likely.
Nope.
Since the problems, I have not shot over her, but I've taken her
Good.
out to get her on some wild birds.
Good.
Without shooting. Good.
Good. Well, we're going the right way again.
But this has slowed down since the start of deer season.
Sure.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I know I've just written a novel. No, you didn't. We have longer ones than yours. But I was just wondering if there's anything I can do on my own to help this, or if there's something else I need to see Justin about, or another recommended trainer, as I know he is busy. Rosie is a timid dog, especially around new dogs, but she certainly loves to hunt.
Yep. All right.
Yeah. Boy, that's kind of loaded.
It is, but he needs some help. He's in Michigan. Yeah, I am busy helping guys like you, so don't hesitate to reach out to me. If you feel like you're hitting a brick wall, I'd be happy to help you out any way I can. It's important that he proceed just right from here on. So he thought he was okay in his pre-season, dog's first season. We know that from the age of the dog. Things were looking good pre-season. Made a mistake taking that dog goose hunting. And being a Michigan boy, I know how this happened. He's fired up. He's got this new dog. What's the very first thing? No. What's the very first chance to hunt here in Michigan every year? September 1, early goose season, right? He's got his dog. He's going to go hunt some geese on September 1. That is a type of shooting that obviously the dog wasn't prepared for. Dog was probably right next to him. And it was not anything similar to what the dog had in terms of volume.
Dog wasn't even on the move.
Probably not. You don't let dogs cast for geese. No.
You took probably a really good retrieving Spinoni that was big enough to carry a goose. Said, let's see if we can shoot some geese over.
Something one way. So there's where the problem was made.
Yeah.
And then he was hoping that it wasn't as bad as it appears to be, and he went grouse hunting with the dog, which for people in other parts of the country is 15 days later, September 15. A grouse opener, sure enough, first shooting, dog's done. So this guy, sure enough, 100% has a gun problem. Now, what I love, this guy's thinking right, because his first initial steps, recognizing he had a problem, no more shooting, putting it right back on wild birds with no shooting. You got to build that confidence, and how he reintroduces the gun is going to totally determine whether this guy can pull this dog through it or not. And the other factor is, how much dog do we have in there to work? The dog's got to want it. The dogs with a lot of drive and desire are willing to work through some of those things.
It's funny he mentioned at the end of the email, she's a timid dog.
Sure.
Especially around new dogs.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying there isn't some dogs that are a little apprehensive or timid around other dogs, but it does say something about the dog's demeanor.
It does.
You know, that it's not a bulldog.
Well, it may be bold in one situation, but new things. He mentioned new dogs or new situation. I see it all the time when somebody brings a dog here. Some dogs jump out of that truck like they were born here.
Yeah.
And nothing phases them, right? And other dogs, that dog, he's not even so sure wants to get out of the truck, right? There's some barking dogs. I've never been here before.
I'm going to I'm earning my wages on this one.
You know what I watch for? How long do they stay like that? What I feel, a normal temperament dog, he should gradually be coming out of that as he realizes this is an okay place. It's a dog that persists to stay in that frame of mind that I worry we have a quirky genetic temperament at work.
It's like the kids that go to summer camp. They're a little afraid to leave mom and dad, but once they have some fun,
they don't want to go home.
But then there's some that want their mom and dad to pick them up. You ever have one of them? Like you couldn't. Like a dog that just wouldn't acclimate to the kennel?
Yeah, I have. And you have to give them adequate time, but then again, I'm not here to waste somebody's money either. And so if it ain't happening, I just have to send them home, and I got another dog waiting in the wings that needs that spot. And in my situation, and that's where I try and give the owner an effective, I think this dog is going to be best worked by you. This dog doesn't fit the mold of being sent to a trainer, because that really turns him upside down.
Around new dogs.
Doesn't mean he can't be a good dog.
Right.
You know, it just means he doesn't fit the mold to be sent off to camp.
I'm going to break off into dog you helped me with, Oscar, one of the ones that died.
Yeah.
I shot over him, and then he was a quirky dog.
Yeah.
He had.
Oh yeah, he's weird.
He was a weird dog.
Yeah.
But I loved him to death.
Sure.
Just like this guy loves Rosie.
Yeah.
And brought him to Justin. I said, Justin, he's kind of acting weird with a gunshot. He's kind of weird. Justin worked with him. He was okay right here at your property.
Sure.
Took him to a preserve with my daughter and her fiance and his dad, and told the guys, I said, I'm going to take him out for one bird. I just want to shoot one bird over him, and I'm going to put him back in the truck. And it went flawless. Bird got up. I dropped it. He was on the way to retrieve it. Another bird, just even though they were pen-raised birds, got up behind everybody. Everybody turned and shot. He spit that bird out and went back to the truck.
Yeah.
That one shot was okay for him.
Who was that did that?
That was Oscar.
No. Which numbnut did the shooting after you just told him what we're gonna do?
Well, what I told him to do, I said, "There's a bird coming up. I'm going to shoot it. You're not, because see, if I saw something with the dog, thank you for being."
I'm not trying to get you in trouble with your family there, but
it was all the numbnuts because what I told them happened right on paper. They said, "Oh, he's on point." I knew where the bird was. I waited X amount of distance to drop the bird, so it was a far enough shot. Everything went perfect. What I did not tell them was if something else comes up, don't shoot. So a bird goes, boom, 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 boom. Every three people turned, boom, 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 boom. He dropped that bird and ran back to the truck.
Sure
So I'm just telling Joel that I had two issues with Oscar. And in the end, you told me to take him to Wyoming. You said, just put him in the truck, take him with. Let him watch the other dogs go hunt. Let him hear shots. I took him out to Wyoming, and I shot a sharp tail for him on his last day there. First day there, he didn't want to be there. And 6 days later, he wanted out of the truck. He wanted to hunt, and I shot a bird over him.
yeah, I don't understand people that go on trips and leave dogs home. They're not gonna learn anything.
Well, you told me that. You said, Ron, if it's going to get worse, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
But there ain't no way it's going to get better if you don't take him on a trip.
Yeah.
Now, again, you didn't say go shoot over him.
No.
You just said let him experience the trip.
I don't care if it's a old retired dog or I guess if they're 100% retired.
Yeah, you don't want to.
But even puppies, you know, I mean, I've brought 12-week-old puppies on the road. There is something beneficial I can do with that dog, regardless of what's going on with them. Don't leave them home.
Learning it to be in a kennel, learning it to
whatever.
be on the road. So now we are into pointing and non-pointing. And all right.
And we'll probably do a few of these, and then maybe we'll leave a few of those because we got lots of pointing, and then we got our miscellaneous grab bag in the middle. There's some good stuff.
I might hit pause and make that part 2, but we'll do it tonight.
Okay,
we'll get it done.
Yeah.
All right, 11-month-old poodle pointer with the energy for 3 dogs, maybe more. We live in Northern California, not the best bird cover, slim pickings, so he has little experience on wild birds. He busts more birds than he points.
Okay.
Due to little exposure, he didn't put a question mark there. It was like he's assuming it's due to little exposure.
Sure.
How can I improve his steadiness and transition in the field? Well, that's kind of an odd question for me because he's saying he busts more birds than he points. Yeah. How can I improve his steadiness?
Well, he's not there yet.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to clarify for people, as Justin obviously could do it better than me, that we do in NAVDA. Pointing is an instinct they inherit from their parents.
Correct.
It can be fostered and improved with training, but it's an instinct that a dog receives from its parents.
Yeah.
So when you ask, how can I improve his steadiness? Steadiness is really all the work after the person comes up and the bird is flushed. That's steadiness, just to clarify for people. Mm-hmm. But I think what his real question is it's taking out more birds than it's pointing.
Yeah, well, it sounds like most aren't being pointed.
Most aren't.
Right, okay. So what are the? I kind of had those separated there. So basically, we'll say that dog is not pointing.
Not holding point. Not even. Yeah, not pointing. He didn't say not hold. Because not. And that's. I guess.
The lack of exposure. Yeah.
When somebody says in a NAVDA test, the dog only held for 3 or 4 seconds. That's pretty good for a puppy.
It can be. Can be 100% normal.
Right.
Yeah.
If you see that dog lock up.
Yep.
And then go after the bird.
Yep.
That's kind of normal canine wild dog behavior.
Very much so.
So that's where exposure and steadiness and everything kind of comes into play. So I want people to realize that, pointing is an instinct, steadiness is an obedience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is an obedience.
Yeah.
But it gets kind of muddled up when you haven't seen it enough.
Yeah.
You start blaming the duration of the point on the dog's steadiness. Well, you still might be 30 yards away from that dog. Steadiness hasn't come into anything yet. He doesn't even know you're there. He's still pointing because his mom and dad.
It's 100% instinct at work there.
Yeah. All right. And the next one, always enjoy a Justin episode. Well, look at that, Justin. Well, you know what Justin's new name is? Just Incredible.
Ooh, that's an overstatement.
I know. Number 1, I like it because people gave us more information.
That's good. It helps me give a better answer.
Breed, Gordon Setter. Age, 1.5-year-old male, 2.5-year-old female.
Okay.
Started dogs. Not quite sure if he...
Yeah, he's just giving us an idea. Hey, they're not fully trained, but they're not...
They've had some stuff.
Puppy, yeah.
Training birds, quails and chucker.
Okay.
Live in Maine.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, that's some of the typos from Doug. Thanks, Doug. This past training season, both my oldest Gordon, which isn't that old, 2.5.
2.5, yeah.
Began blowing off planted birds. I've seen that. We've had the birds in tip-ups, which is... Tip-up, would you call a step-on?
Yeah, for people who don't know what that is, it would be like a metal cage about bird size, and then it has kind of a tang-type piece coming off of one end that's up at about a 45-degree angle, and then you can, as you come in there, you can step on that.
It would be like stepping on a rake and having the handle hit you.
Perfect way to explain it. So that when you step on the one end, the cage tilts up, and the bird that's underneath there is free to go. I don't own one.
We have had the birds in tip-ups,
but I've seen them in the catalogs.
and free releases. It's a poor man's launcher.
Kind of.
Problem is you got to get there for the dog who's not doing what you wanted to do in the first place. I've had the birds in front of tip-ups, launchers, and free release. They will point wild birds, though.
Yeah. So I remember this now as you got into that. So I remember this question. So I think when he says blow off, you and our initial thing was he's blinking him, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I don't think so. I think he means blow off as in not point. And that's why I put it in the pile of questions about
Pointing.
dogs that aren't pointing.
Yeah,
okay,
pointing.
so we're going to make that assumption.
Yeah.
Because he talks about, well, they come in there, they pop them, and they shoot them, and the dogs retrieve them.
Right.
Right. So if they're not avoiding that situation, they're just not pointing the pen birds.
Right.
But they're pointing wild birds.
They got this game figured out.
They do. They're training these guys. And so for this one, if they're pointing wild birds, quit messing with tip-ups and launchers and shooting pigeons and stuff for them. Why? You can get your dog woe broke without using those and then apply it in a different avenue.
Yeah.
And by all means, I would be change something because these dogs are probably having fun running up there and getting bird shot. Why would you shoot them if they're not performing it in a fashion that's satisfactory to you?
All it takes is, the one thing, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it took meeting George Hickox. It took meeting you to learn how to use a check cord, and I still don't use it efficiently, and I'm going to rely on it the rest of my life. It took meeting George Hickox to say, and he says it all throughout his seminar, he says, dogs learn by association. Dogs learn by association. Well, if they associate A and B together, and A and B is pretty fun,
sure.
We tend to set up A and B sometimes. Mm-hmm. You shot that first crappy bird, or that first bird he didn't point.
Yeah.
Why would that dog, even the rest of his life, think that's not a good thing to do?
Somewhere this phony baloney setup, the dogs figured out, hey, they're still pointing wild birds.
They're still pointing wild
They know,
birds.
We can't do that in that world. He lives in Maine, so grouse and woodcock state for sure.
They're not going to let him get away with that.
No, they can do that. So they're just goofing around.
You got two smart dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
Dig cord and setters. That's what it is.
Yeah, they're smart.
They're English.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I won't read the beginning of this one. We finally put this one together from Nashville. 7-month-old small Munsterlander pup out of hunting line. Oh, it's definitely a small Munsterlander out of hunting lines.
Does he give the age?
We'll get into it. No.
Okay.
Yes. Oh yeah, 7-month-old.
7 months.
Okay. Out of hunting lines. So, and I shouldn't say, I would say most Munsterlanders out of hunting lines, but there can be Munsterlanders that are just show breeds and stuff
I've
like
never
that.
heard of one, but
Right. So anyway, 7-month-old small Munsterlander. Heck of a nose, retrieve drive, and intelligence. And that's what I've seen judging every one of them. And really good at tracking. But so far, not much pointing. We've been working on basic obedience and catches on to everything very quick. She can be woed already if that will help in getting her to point, but I keep reading and hearing that you don't want to woe them into a point.
he has read and heard correct.
Okay. Now, is that because
In my
you're masking a flaw, or is that because that's not the way to do it?
It goes back to what you just mentioned a minute ago, that it is not what we're not after. We're not after a command response when a dog smells a bird. We want an instinct to be
You want
triggered.
a natural instinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be inherent to a pointing dog to point when they hit strong game bird
Right,
scent.
right.
Now, is that the end of his question?
No.
Okay.
Keep bringing here. You don't want to woe them into a point.
Yeah.
I have seen her give quick sight points,
Okay,
which is different.
it is.
But she doesn't seem to be associating any instinct to freeze based off some scent that I can tell. Is the only solution to put as many bird contacts as possible on her and hope she figures it out and she won't get the bird until she freezes or points. Or should I try to mess with traps and launchers to shoot a bird up as soon as she senses it? When he says shoot a bird up,
Doesn't mean kill the bird.
You
no,
mean
he's saying launch the bird,
launch
fly
the bird. And I've heard I've done it a couple times. Dog comes in a training situation. You've already recognized the dog that wants to crowd the bird and get to already made game, and you can see it going on a beeline. I'm not saying it doesn't work because I know people have done it. So they will launch typically a pigeon. Dog sees that pigeon fly away. Pigeon never touches the ground again. Dog says, "Oh, I got too close."
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, the whole purpose of a launcher is to control the timing of the flush.
yeah,
That puts the trainer in control of when the bird flies.
right.
And that's not something that you're always in control of without one with, something like a pigeon or
Right.
a chucker or whatever. So that's the reason people use launchers. I will say it's misused probably more than it's used in a way that I feel is constructive. I would not, for this dog right here,
Right.
I would never ever put that dog on a launcher right now.
No.
And that's not going to get him where he needs to go. Not yet. No.
Okay, so to answer that question, traps are launched to shoot the bird up as soon as she smells it. No.
No.
And then he also says, and this is I think this is something that's run through, maybe it started with the hound people, because hounds do kind of run with their mom and dad and learn a little bit from their parents, even though they're still working on basic instincts. Mm-hmm. But I have an almost 5-year-old German Shorthair Pointer, utility, which I'm assuming is an NAVD utility dog, that I could run the pup with if that would help, but I don't know. If the pup would associate everything going on by running with her. Unfortunately, I live in Tennessee. We don't have many wild birds to work with, and we pretty much have to be pen-raised birds.
Okay.
So, first answer is the dog is not going to learn anything about pointing from running with a 5-year-old dog.
Probably not.
Unless for some reason it backed.
No, or
Not being sarcastic.
no, and so I certainly don't think that's going to be the answer. The first thing that I would recommend he do is, I view the only purpose for a launcher type training thing is off season. Maybe for a little stop to flush work, I can control when that pigeon gets up, or getting some repetitions in of the very beginning stages of being steady to wing, standing and watching the bird fly off in front of his point.
Yeah.
I've never put a dog on a launcher setup that isn't pointing at all yet. We want to have that dog already pointing birds.
Right.
And my favorite way is to allow those instincts to develop naturally.
Right.
If you can get them into wild birds, that's the very best. Many people can't. So you need to do the next best that you can. Number one thing you need is a good, strong flying game bird.
Yeah.
I promise you, you can find them. If you get some from this guy and they're not what you need,
Right.
you're done with him. You're looking
Right.
for another supplier.
Yep.
You are
If you
dead.
bought 6 or 7 and they
So
didn't fly good,
eat 'em.
break their neck.
Yeah, eat 'em.
Don't
Yep.
put that dog
Done.
into another
It's not
shitty
worth
flying
it.
bird.
It's not just because you paid money for them doesn't mean you have to use them. It's not worth it. Don't be cheap. And so keep hunting around until you find that right kind of bird. You need
Right.
so when that
Strong
puppy
flying bird.
Yeah, when that puppy goes in there after that bird, it is imperative that that bird gets up and flies. And
Farther
flies,
than that dog
flies
can-
out of that bird's life.
Right.
You never sees him again. He's gone,
Right.
gone. Pup, chase, have a ball, come back, smell around where he was. We're going to go look for another one. You need to provide that to your dog to really develop that instinct. Now, the other thing, 7 months again, is that right?
7 months old.
Okay.
That's
So
pretty young.
It is very young, and I think I need to point out that it is an inherited instinct, but it doesn't always show itself in the same age window from dog to dog to dog. I've seen dogs that come out of the box as little. I've seen 12-week-old puppies that point like crazy.
Bing.
And I've seen other dogs not point till they were like 10, 12 months old, 14 months old. And sometimes it's an age window. Sometimes it's accumulating X amount of exposure.
Right.
Sometimes it's both. Now, if I get a 7-month-old dog in here, introduction to the birds, right?
Right.
I'm going to put that dog into birds every day for the first week and see
Yeah.
what I see. Some of them, many of them will start to point early
Right.
and during that first week. At some point, I need to make a decision and go, okay, this ain't happening right now. And I've set the stage. I've created the environment for this instinct to show itself
Yeah,
and
you've
come to the
given
surface.
everything
Right.
you could get.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it's not happening, the last thing I want to do is do that every day for a month.
Yeah.
Right? Because now we
Yeah.
have a long baseline record of, isn't this fun, going out there finding,
Right.
flushing, chasing birds. You know what the answer is? Wait.
Just wait.
Hang it up. Put it on the back burner. No more birds for a while. Do something else with your dog. There's 20 other things that you could be doing with a 7-month-old dog.
Yeah.
And whatever.
Yeah.
Even just letting it be a dog and grow up, right?
Right.
And then maybe I'll come back around to that dog at 9
Right.
months and say, hey, let's throw him on some birds again for another week and see what we see.
Yeah.
And if the genetics are there,
Yeah.
one of these days, unless we mess it up with bad bird experiences, whammo, you're going to look up and that dog's going to be standing there.
I agree 100% with you, and I'll say this from seeing Munsterlanders when they got here. I shouldn't say when they got here. When I started judging a little over 20 years ago, I saw Munsterlanders that could track any pheasant we put on any ground.
Yeah.
That dog, I don't care if we put him across that parking lot, that dog was going to, may not get the bird in the end, but he could follow that pheasant's track. Their recovery after the shot work was phenomenal. Their pointing wasn't.
Yeah.
So you're also, I'm not picking out a breed. I love Muncies. I try to direct people to them all the time. And they're great dogs. But it was never their strong suit.
Sure.
It
Sure.
was on, and I just want him to know that.
Yeah.
I'm sure the breeder didn't say, 30 years ago we struggled with pointing.
Yeah.
When it came to NAVDA.
Sure.
I want them to know that. I think you're right though. If he waits, gets it off of that.
Yeah.
It isn't the dog's genetics, and I know the dogs in the last 15, 18 years that have been being bred they're not breeding dogs that were woed to point.
You should.
They're breeding dogs that are pointing in natural instincts and expounding that, turning it into steadiness later. That I just want to know he's dealing with a breed that is not known for having a 7-month-old puppy point. Is what I'm saying.
It's not completely crazy. He doesn't have a problem. This isn't this isn't abnormal.
Exactly.
But what is important is that he shield this puppy from a bad setup.
Yes.
We don't want that pup to run out there and go,
Yeah.
hey, I can catch these soaking wet, sick chuckers here and they have a ball doing it.
yeah.
He's better off staying home that day.
Yep.
Yeah, and then just keep dipping your toes in the water as that dog gets older, and it'll point one of these days.
Yeah.
And it doesn't.
I agree.
It doesn't matter what age that is.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. All right, now we're into a little steadiness. Now, Oh, there's still one more pointing here.
Okay,
No,
yeah.
I guess
Well,
maybe it's both. Yeah, it's
Okay.
probably a little bit of both.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for giving me something to listen to while I drive to hunting spots. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you don't have XM radio anymore. 'Cause I got rid of mine so I can listen to my own voice. I've got a 10-month-old German Shorthair Pointer that is bird crazy. I already got a picture in my head of this dog. Dam is. He's probably going by the. I guess he's saying the mother.
Yeah.
Dam is a long-running field trial dog line. Sire is a quail hunting guide dog. Okay. Points well, steady to flush most of the time. Retrieves when my lab lets him. 10-month-old. He's
Got a good dog.
He got a good dog.
So far, so good.
He's a little puppy.
You never know what's lurking at the end of a question, but so
No.
far I like it.
Right, so far. We hunt mostly pheasants, occasionally guided a preserve. 10 months. And question for Justin and you. He can run pretty long, and I want him to be closer when guiding clients. How do I train
okay.
him? We must have got this one. Why has he got it in the steadiness pile? But let me see. He can run pretty long, and I want him to be closer when I'm guiding clients. How do I train him to do this and not be a yo-yo dog? Well, there's a little bit of nothing wrong with being a good yo-yo guy.
Well, so I've heard that term and how I always think of that. Remember when we were talking about, and he got his answer to range earlier when we touched on that.
Yeah.
And I pointed out, don't use come when called. That's the yo-yo dog. Out, all the way back
That's what he
in.
means.
No, we just want that dog to turn. Right? Stay forward, keep hunting, stay on the job. So,
I currently just whistle him in and use recall now.
yeah.
If a hen flushes and no shots are taken, he will chase that bird a good distance. I was always told to let a young dog chase for bird drive reasons. Nothing wrong
Absolutely.
with chasing a bird.
I agree with that.
We have that happen in NAVTA natural ability tests. Occasionally a trainer will come in with a client's dog and they don't want to run the test, so they run it, and the guy will come up to me and say, hey, I'm working through some steadiness with dogs, so can I hold that dog back after it points its first bird? And I go, no. He goes, yeah, but I'm working on steadiness. I said, I'm not concerned with this dog's steadiness. I'm concerned with seeing this dog chase a bird. You know, it goes on point. I want to see it chase that bird as a puppy, you know. So if the hen flushes, no shots are taken, he'll chase a bird a good distance. No,
So he's hunting wild pheasants.
No.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
he just-
apparently.
yeah,
Apparently, you're
absolutely
right.
is. Otherwise, you'd be shooting them hens.
See? Glad you're paying attention.
I am.
He'll chase a bird a good distance. Also, I'm told to let a young dog chase birds for drive reasons. But now he'll win birds on the way back and bump or point them the hell away.
So not only is he hunting wild pheasants, he's hunting them in a place there's so many of them. When he's coming
bumping
back
birds.
from chasing birds, he's finding more.
He's in Nebraska.
There you go.
He's got wild birds.
I knew it. Yeah, clairvoyant here.
Keep chatting. Still no bird command. Thanks. Keep letting him. Should I keep letting him chase or start a no bird? I like starting a no bird command. If you
I do, and 10-month-old dog, right?
10-month-old,
Sounds like
he's
this dog has got a gem in the making, right?
You're not
there.
kidding.
Absolutely, and he lives in the right place to just pour it to this dog, right? If he's got that.
Yeah,
So
I'm jealous.
So the deal with this guy, while we're fresh on him, absolutely you want to start weaning that chase out of that dog. Now, there is no calendar age. It's more about accumulation of experience. And so his handle, I know why he wants a better handle on that dog. He said he does a little preserve guiding, right?
yeah.
So he kind of, in that situation...
Or even wild guiding.
Well,
but,
but he kind of, in the preserve thing, a club, he kind of knows where the birds are.
Right,
He needs to steer that dog around a little bit.
Yep.
And that'll come in handy in all hunting, having that ability. You can always take a dog that will roll and make him handle. You should always be able to do that.
Yeah.
As far as his, that's why it ended up in the steadiness pile. So what I look for in that dog, if you let that dog chase those wild pheasants, those birds aren't landing anywhere near you, Jack. And a dog can get into enough of them, you should see that chase begin to shorten a little bit on its own. And that's what I really look for in a dog. When he's mentally accepting that this is not getting him anything.
Nothing to do.
Yeah, and that's maybe when I'll start to put my fingers in there on shortening that chase a little bit at a time.
But let him kind of realize that this is futile.
It's so much better than us telling him.
Right.
Let him learn that.
He can learn on his own.
Yeah.
Right.
Now the guy who's working on bad birds, allowing that dog that freedom of an uncontrolled chase, he's not getting that same education, is he?
No,
he's being rewarded for that chase. So many of these pointing dog problems, I can go right back to bad birds.
Bad birds.
Bad birds create so many problems with these young pointing dogs.
And it's not picking on preserves.
Not at all. It's just there are preserves that have great birds.
Great birds.
You need to find them.
I've been at tests where quail, pen raised quail, out of sight.
Yeah, the guy I get mine from great quail.
I mean, just like how I don't think wild quail fly this far.
Yes, they do.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
but they surprise you.
The dog's not going to catch them.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
And I had that one wire hair way back in the day, and it became a joke. He turned out to be a good dog. You never met him. His name was Zygon. He was a clown like Bravo, people dog. I could take him to shows, and he could open up a beer cooler and bring beer to me, and the whole 9 yards. The one thing that I struggled with him when he was a pup, went to some preserves. Them birds only flew 100 yards, and dog can run 100 yards pretty easy.
Real fast.
And you get that bird. Well, then I took my daughters, because they were just at that age when I wanted them to come to a preserve and get a shotgun blast off. And they would shoot at that bird, and I could tell that bird wasn't hitting. I said, "Good shot, girls." And they said, "We hit it?" "Oh, yeah, you hit it." "Really?" "Well, you watch. You'll be back with that bird." I was using a bad training thing to bolster my daughter's bird hunting love.
Sure.
Or my twin daughter's bird hunting love. And they were like, "Here he comes with it." Well, the point being, that dog, if he can get a bird that only flies 100 yards, that's gonna give him a lot of bad. I got him through all that, but he literally knew, and I think he even knew the preserve thing too.
As they get older, they do.
He just knew it. It was like, well, I seen it land, and it ain't gonna have enough wind power to get up twice. So, anyway, yes, it can happen. It can happen. All right, where are we at now?
So I think we're good with
Nebraska.
Our lucky guy in Nebraska, who's got a great short hair
birds
going
on his way
here.
back in.
Yeah, beautiful.
All right, not pointing. 4+-year-old poodle pointer. She and I are learning as we go, thanks to the information from the podcast and others. I got her on quail this summer and early fall, but she didn't hold point. She likes to bust the birds. Should I put the check cord back on her and hold her when she starts a point? She has a lot of natural ability and prey drive. By the way, I can't duck hunt with her because she doesn't like water. So who'd have figured that? A poodle pointer that doesn't like water. Okay, sorry, we can't guarantee.
Hey, nothing's 100%. And
I know some labs that don't like water.
I do, yeah.
So got her in some quail this fall, summer and early fall. She won't hold a point. She likes to bust them. Back to the check cord. Hold her back when she starts a point.
You don't want to get into ever holding a dog back when it wants to go in after a bird. That's where that bird needs to get up and go.
Yeah.
And then, if you feel you're at a stage of training or whatever, then you can stop the dog. But you're not going to win that tug of war. And in fact, I think it makes the dog want to go after that bird more. When you're trying to physically hold that back.
dog?
Well, that's exactly what you're doing, right?
Dogs love to pull.
Yeah, no, they need to go in there. I got some concerns that this dog is 4 years old, not pointing birds.
Yeah.
What do we got here going on?
Right.
What's gone on prior to this?
And he even said, she and I are learning as we go.
Yeah, and maybe a dog hasn't seen that many birds, and maybe the dog's had some success catching them. Right. I would jump right to getting this dog truly woe trained, getting some good birds.
Yeah.
And when that dog goes in there after him, he's gonna have to. That bird's gonna have to fly off, and now maybe stop your dog.
Yeah.
Don't let him chase him anymore.
You could teach it no bird at that point too.
You could. Right. Well, yeah. We don't want this dog to get the wrong idea that birds are bad, but this isn't going like
it's not going good.
No, if we're at 4 and he's still struggling.
Right. And again,
now, if the dog is establishing point, and just not holding point, that's another story.
That's a different story.
That's another story.
And it doesn't seem like that's the way he wrote it. She likes to bust the birds.
Yeah.
Bust the birds seems like a takeout artist to me.
It could. Yeah.
Because she said she won't. Well, no, you picked up on this.
Yeah.
She won't hold point.
Yeah. There's something in there
So,
that grabbed me. Yeah. So he's got a steadiness issue, and that's why I said higher tier whoa training, good birds, so that when she does quote unquote bust the bird, right?
Right.
Breaks that point and goes in. The bird's up. Whoa. Done.
And we're not.
No more chasing.
That bird's gone.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Get that
now,
bird out of memory.
now what? Taking that bird out. What's in it for the dog? Didn't get anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is related to this. Another question: how to steady up a dog that is busting birds that are in, or busting birds that is launcher wise. This dog is launcher wise.
Okay.
The dog's figured out what the launcher means.
Does he know how to work the lever? Get him out of there?
Apparently.
Yeah, apparently.
Apparently.
Jump on that thing.
The
and get
dog
that
knows
bird out.
whoa. Now that's
Keep
always a
going.
loaded question. Steady to wing, shot and fall.
Oh boy.
That's
You had to keep going.
does not bust on a check cord.
All right.
Will bust bird, trap, and retrieve if I can catch a planted. This is one
your
of the
buddy's
things-
typing.
Yeah, this
working on
is
you there,
Doug's
too.
Where I really apologize who wrote this question because we're not.
I think I got a good feel though for what's
will bust
going on.
bird, trap, and retrieve if it can catch a planted.
Yeah.
2.5-year-old male. Hard to get a wild bird. He's in a place where it's hard to get wild
You
birds.
know, he ain't doing his dog any favors with what he's doing.
No.
Oh.
No. Yeah. Launcher wise, steady to wing. Dog knows whoa. Steady to wing, shot and fall. That.
So my guess here's how when I hear is that the
Okay.
end there?
Yeah, that's
okay.
it. Yeah,
Okay.
we gotta
So here's
come-
no. I think I got it.
Yeah.
So here's
Karnak.
here's my vision, right? Like, you know, when he's right there, or maybe when he said something about one of the check cords on, right? So he check cords the dog into the launcher.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. And then he can walk in there and fly the bird, and dog stands.
Yeah.
And shoot his gun, and the dog stands, right? But take that cord off and let that dog free run into there, and he's jumping on that launcher, trying to get that bird out of there and bringing it to him.
Yeah.
That's just a smart dog that has your phony baloney set up pegged. He's doing. You know why he's doing it? Because he can.
Because he can.
Because he can.
That's like, why do dogs do that? Because they can.
Because he can. And you got nobody but yourself to blame. I know it's frustrating because there's a bunch of other dogs that wouldn't do that. He's
Right.
just smart.
Right.
He's smart. He's got this all figured out.
Oh, yeah.
There really is nothing you can do. The jig is up with your setup. So
Yeah.
you need to completely change something.
Right.
And different birds, different place. I would go to loose game birds.
What is that? What is that definition of crazy? Is like doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Right. So yeah, exactly. And people do it all the time, dog training.
Right.
You got to change it when it's not going right.
Yeah.
It's not just magically going to go right one day.
Right.
You got to make some changes.
Right.
And this guy needs loose game birds and different setup so that when he tries that business of jumping in there and everything,
Yeah.
bird doesn't work. He doesn't get
Right.
it. It's gone.
Right.
And sounds like the dog's pretty well trained.
Yeah. If he's got that.
If he's got the
steady wing, shot, and
obedience
fall.
in place, he can whoa the dog and everything.
Yeah.
So there you go. Kind of the same thing that other guy.
Yeah.
He takes that bird out, whoa, stop, and don't shoot it just because you paid money for it.
Yeah.
He needs to learn. It
I know,
flies off. Feed the
but
hawks.
I've been in those shoes.
I don't
I
get
got
it.
6 quail, and
I know.
I got to use every one of them.
In fact, I'm
wrong.
going to try and point that one 5 times
I'm gonna
tonight.
hit pause here for just a second.
All right. Nope. Yeah.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, this is some pointing related questions. GSP, 3.5 years old. Did all my own training, which I think is messed up. Pigeons in a training situation, he points from very far away. Easy, 10 plus yards. But in the woods, woodcock or grouse, he just bumps them all the time. I don't shoot them, which is good. What should I do to correct this? Should I go back to step 1 or what? I also mentioned that when I say 10 yards plus, it's sometimes 10 yards he points. Sometimes it's 25 yards away and he points. And when he runs in the first, his nose is on the... Oh, when he runs in, at first his nose is on the floor or the ground. So he's got a 3.5-year-old dog, did his own training, points pigeons in training situations and bumps grouse and woodcock.
Yeah, I mean, if he's pointing pigeons from 10
10
to
yards?
25 out to 25, it sounds like
pretty good.
That's a long. No dog doesn't have an issue with its nose.
No.
He mentions though dropping that head to the ground.
Kind of going to
Right.
like a
Yeah.
tracking recovery mode or
Yeah,
something.
which that is for after we have knocked a bird down.
that's after the
it
shot.
does not work very well at all.
Before the shot.
And some dogs have a genetic predisposition to be a little bit like that.
Well, look, not to pick on a Muncie lander, but it was more of it's like their goal was to track their way to the game bird.
Yeah,
You know?
and some dogs when they hunt, any little scent will cause them to go head down and try and ground scent. Now a dog should learn that doesn't work.
Usually.
I've never seen a dog
Right.
point birds with his nose on the ground.
No.
They can't. No, it doesn't work very
right.
well. So maybe that's part of what's going
And here's
on
another
there.
thing: pigeons. When have you ever used a trained pigeon that left ground scent for 20, 30, or 50 or 100 yards?
No, they're right where you put
They're
them.
right where you put them.
Yeah.
So now this ground scent is
Yeah.
pulling this dog like,
Sure, the dog encounters where the grouse was a little while
right,
ago.
tracks it for
And,
20, 30
yeah,
yards.
right, and goes into it head down. And
You can almost say the guy might not have a problem. He might be hunting grouse that are pressured. I mean,
no,
not to
but
be-
he feels his dog is not pointing
Right.
birds that could have been handled by
Could have
other
been handled.
dogs.
Yeah,
Right.
If he's saying that, then yeah.
I think that's what he's saying. It's a 3-year-old dog.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, 3.5,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we would hope by now the dog. If you're still waiting on a pointed grouse at 3.5,
you'd be waiting for a while.
I'm questioning whether the dog. Not every dog is made to be a grouse dog.
That's true.
That's just a fact. And but he should be getting some points on woodcock.
Yeah.
He should. Woodcock are the most cooperative, I think, wild bird for a pointing dog.
So if when he says bump, see some of the vernacular we're using, a bump to me in the judging world, a bump is a bumped bird. It means no fault of the dog. What do you call a bump, Justin? When someone says my dog bumps birds.
Mine's different. So a bump bird to me, if somebody says to you, "Hey, that dog just bumped a bird," is that positive, negative, or neutral statement?
Neutral to me.
To you, you're the oddball in the group. Most people, if
Right.
you tell them, "Hey, your dog just bumped a bird," they're going to take that as a negative.
Right.
And my definition, it is a little bit of a negative. A true bump bird to me is the dog was aware of the bird before it flew.
Okay.
Okay, so
But not
he
necessarily
knew it was there.
a takeout artist.
No, he knew it was there, but he proceeded to work the scent close enough to cause the bird
Okay.
to get up and go.
Yeah.
Now, what you're referring to, I call that a wild flush. The dog had no clue the bird was there until it was in the air.
Right.
The dog might have went running through there.
Winds the wrong
Wind's
way.
wrong, yeah. The dog, sure, he was the reason the bird
Right.
got out of there, but there was of no fault or intent of
And
the
I think
dog.
where we got that from was we basically said, well, the dog bumped into it.
Sure,
You know what
that
I mean?
makes
So
sense.
it becomes
yeah, he just bumped.
Well,
into
he was running that way. The wind's coming the other way. He bumped into the bird,
yeah,
so we call
wild
it a
flush.
bump.
Yeah,
Yeah. But you're right about the
I think
woodcock.
most people, he should be getting some points on woodcock, so something's going on
Yeah.
there. Again, I hate to keep beating it to death, but it is for older dogs that are still struggling.
Yeah.
The number one place I've had success is stop to flush.
Stop the flush.
Yeah, after the flood. None of this trying to woe them into a point business. That's
Right.
never gotten me anywhere.
Just stop the flush.
stop to flush. Once that bird's in the air, whoa, you got to stop and don't shoot him.
If nothing else,
Yeah.
you've got that on your side. You've got a flushing
You're
pointer.
gaining control of the dog in the presence of the bird. You're taking away the
Right.
fun of a happy chase after they knock them and
Right.
all that. And if anything can instill a little bit of caution as that sense, even when they're ground tracking, that sense getting a little hotter,
Yeah.
a little warmer, he needs to, ooh, there's going to be a bird here.
Right.
Once I get that instilled in a dog where I can enforce stop to flush,
Yeah.
now we might is the key word.
Might.
Can we turn this dog into a grouse dog?
Probably not.
Maybe not, probably not, could be, but we certainly should be able to improve him.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and
And stop the flush is a place where
Best
this
thing
comes
he
in.
could do.
Right.
Yeah.
You kind of screwed up, but I'm not going to let you screw up any further.
Yeah.
So bird flushes in the air. That means the bird takes wing.
Yeah.
Dog has to stop.
Stop.
And you may never get a bird
That is
shot
not
over.
for puppies. I want to point out to people that
this
are
is for
listening, this is
older
not
dogs.
for first-year dogs.
Right.
They can do no wrong. I want them to chase.
Yeah.
We got a 3-year-old that's still struggling here.
Yeah.
So that'd be the first thing I'd do.
Yeah. Next one, to knock out some of the info you listed. I have a 2-year-old small Munsterlander. We hunt pheasants, woodcock, and grouse in Pennsylvania. We keep pen-raised birds as a small side hobby. Typically hide them in high grass and in a cage for off-season training. I think it has led my dog to crowding. I've seen dogs crowd. And crowding the bird and not understanding the amount of distance she can give the bird without bumping it, especially when tracking a running rooster. Otherwise, on days when the birds hold well, her point is very steady. In other words, there's no tracking scent. Dogs are just coming into the perfect wind, perfect conditions. Is there any good training tips to help solve this problem? Do you think this is just something she will learn with more contacts with birds in the field as opposed to training birds putting birds in a cage?
Yeah. So I think that I remember this one. Can I see it real quick?
Yeah.
Right here. Okay. So, So, yeah, this has led to my dog crowding the bird, right? And off season, these are several key statements in this question that I grabbed. And I went, ooh, off season. So we know we got green grass, right? He's in Pennsylvania. We don't have fall, dead, frosted cover and everything. High grass even points out tall green grass. And putting birds in a cage. That combination right there, a bird confined to a cage, placed in tall, summer thick, green vegetation. The dog can't possibly point the bird from any reasonable distance.
Right.
Very few dogs could. Mm-hmm. And
He's
so
setting himself up.
He's setting himself. That's a bad setup.
Yeah.
Yeah. So of course the dog is not pointing until it's right on top of the bird. He's not gonna, like, can you imagine like a brisk November day? We got about a 12-mile-an-hour wind.
Yeah.
Those dogs are smelling those birds way out
Yeah.
there. This dog is set up to be right on top of them.
He either is finding them or he ain't.
Yes.
And if he is, it's...
Well, he put him there, so you know what he's going to do? He's going to make sure the dog finds him.
Right.
He's not going to keep right on walking. No, I spent all the time to set this up. Okay? Darn it, you're going to come over here and you're going to point this bird.
Well, that's a good thing. We can do a whole podcast on setups.
The art of the setup is huge.
Right.
You can't accomplish what you're trying to by putting a dog in the wrong setup.
Right.
That's either going to go poorly or be a draw at best.
Yeah.
So he needs to bear in mind off season, short cover, sparse cover is far better than tall, thick cover.
Right.
He talks about tracking, running roosters. He's bumping them. We just talked about the nose down tracking of a live bird. That's what's getting that dog in trouble. He's 2 years old, so we should start to expect a little more out of him at that point. More contact with birds. Yeah, I would go as natural as I can with this dog. Loose, strong flying game birds. Get rid of the summer thick birds in the cage. He says pheasants, woodcock, and grouse in Pennsylvania. Man, I'd just be pouring it to him.
Yeah.
And let that dog's, those instincts are there, right?
Right.
And those other birds are going to be far better teachers than what you're doing in the summertime with the cages and the tall grass. And so pick something else to work on.
Well, and
in
it
the
goes
summer.
back to, like we've talked before, don't be in a hurry. It's not going to we're not going to do this from April 15th to August 15th.
Yeah.
And
But a lot of people think I have to do this because the season's going to be open. Hey, if he's got his framework in place, the dog is searching, using his nose into the gun, handling for him, not a pain in the neck that's taken off or anything.
Right.
And you live in a place where you can show him pheasants, grouse, and woodcock, take him hunting.
yeah.
This dog is 2. You know what I'd like this guy to do? Mm-hmm. Do nothing but hunt this dog until the dog is 3.
Yeah.
And then let us know whether I gave him good or bad advice.
Good.
Yeah.
That'd be
And
good.
you know what? Okay, if that didn't get him
Right.
what he thinks is the right direction, I'm not saying the dog will be some rock star at 3, but if that wasn't good, the dog is still only 3, and now we can go to plan B.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So let us know next December.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, I would love it if you try it.
All right, another one. Have an 8-month-old small. How many small Munsterlanders are writing in?
They're all over the place now.
8-month-old small Munsterlander, and they're not from the same litter because we've got four different age Munsterlanders.
Yeah, and probably from 4 different parts of the country.
Live in western Colorado. Oh, that's sage country on the backside. This is my first pointing dog. We have been hunting gamble quail, doing fantastic. On this second hunt out, we got into quail, and she had 2 different points on quail. First contact with birds. Third hunt, we didn't find any, and we were almost back to the truck when she saw a bunch of songbirds in a bush. Ran over and pointed them. I just ignored it and kept walking. Was that the right thing to do, or should I have done something different? I'm assuming time will tell, and he will figure out which birds are interesting, but I don't want to discourage pointing either.
You know, I love this, right?
This is great.
I saved this one.
I like that.
Isn't that great? So all these other people, right, doing all this other stuff.
Right.
These pigeons and these launchers and these quail in these cages. They had to do this. This guy didn't do anything.
He didn't do anything.
He didn't do anything, but he takes it out where there's some quail.
Right.
Wild quail.
And then it points some songbirds in a bush, and he's afraid. Is that okay?
First bird contact. He got 2 points on wild quail, right? Yeah. You know why? Because he didn't mess it up in the summertime before hunting season. There's some truth to that.
Yeah,
I'm being a little bit sarcastic.
Right.
And then he's not sure if he has a problem because the dog's pointing songbirds even. Well, he's a puppy. Let him do it.
Right.
To answer your question, your dog's going to figure out that we're not after those.
And never shot a robin for him.
And let him chase them. And so the more game birds he sees, he'll become focused on those. He'll begin to ignore the Tweeties. And
quit chasing butterflies.
So there's a dog. Great instincts, right? The dog made a couple of points his very first time out.
And I'll take that dog. 6-month-old Brittany joined my local NAVDA chapter, bless your heart, after listening to your podcast, but now I'm responsible for all this. First hunting dog, plan on training myself. I'm addicted, can't wait for training days. So I got 2 questions. First is about running my dog in fields with no birds. There aren't many wild birds where I live, and absolutely 0 in the field I've been running in. I need to get some energy out of him, or he's a nightmare in the house.
Sure.
Is letting him run off lead in the field going to be a problem later down the road? Let's take that part. Is just running a dog in a birdless field a problem?
No, not necessarily. And young dogs need exercise.
Yeah.
You know, they can't have that dog cooped up all of a sudden. He's chewing your couch up, digging holes in your yard, or barking.
And then your wife says, "Get rid of the dog."
Yeah. So that's just good dog care to provide him regular off-leash exercise, and he must have. Most people do it in the one spot that's the most convenient, as far as close to home or whatever. Everybody's busy, and by no means is that going to be detrimental in the big picture to what that dog's outcome. It's just exercise, and your dog will come to know that that's where we go to just blow off some steam and have some fun. It's totally fine. Don't worry about anything he does there affecting what he's going to do in the future as a bird dog.
And then he says, last time out. I noticed he seems to run with his head down more, looking for anything he can find. Last time out, he tried to eat a dead rat. So what dog hasn't?
It's already
That's
dead.
normal.
Yeah,
It's already dead. Second is about tracking and pointing. His pointing isn't that solid yet, but tracking is great. Well,
ties right in.
Ties right in what we're saying.
Yeah.
Is too much tracking going to mess up the pointing later? I'd like to answer this only because a gal that got into NAVDA. Now you could tell me if I'm wrong.
No,
Justin,
you answer that one, and
I'm gonna answer that.
I got another one for you.
In the same vein, kind of.
But we're gonna since you're gonna be
tracking and pointing. Well, a lady came to one of our tests, and she brought in some dogs, and she wanted to get involved. She was like, "Oh, this is so cool," and she hung her shingle out as a trainer, and real nice family. And when we explained the course of the day, she's like, I don't get this tracking thing. We got a young pointing dog, and we want him to track. And I explained to her, at least what has been handed down to me, tracking is also an inherited instinct in a dog. It's something that you can foster and improve on, but real desire to track game involves a dog changing gears. He's not using his field search. He is just using his nose. He is trying to do the shot required after the work. That is inherited, in my understanding of NAVDA versatile breeds. that tracking is an inherited trait. Now, you could probably get a Chihuahua to track something. I mean, dogs' noses are incredible.
Sure.
If you get it interested in cornflakes, it would track cornflakes. She was just almost, I don't want to say off the teeter-totter. She almost didn't want to do the test when she got to the testing level because she was afraid it would hurt the dog's pointing instinct. How do you feel about that? Because that's kind of what we're...
It is. And then this next question I'll read because it's kind of a question for you, and it's a NAVHDA thing. So here's my take on it.
Okay.
I like everything you said. Because that's really the whole purpose of that program is genetics, right? We're trying to make these dogs better.
Right.
And certainly tracking, some dogs are genetically going to be better at that than others. In your system, your NAVHDA program...
In your system, we want all of them to be good at tracking.
Right, so you're trying to weed out, hey, these dogs right here, they kind of are just naturally better at this than another. Yeah. Here's where I think people get themselves in trouble with preparing for this test. They overdo this tracking thing.
Yeah, 100%.
So here's what they do. They take a young pointing dog puppy and they start dragging around things that smell like birds, and they overdo it.
Yes.
And now they see the negative repercussions of that in maybe the dog's pointing.
Right.
Because you spent the last 2 months teaching this dog
because the first time you tried tracking, you're like, oh no, he's not tracking.
So what?
So you did all this work on tracking. Yeah. No.
And everybody wants to see their dogs do good, but don't view that natural ability tracking test as the end all be all for your dog, because it certainly, I don't think, was ever meant to be that.
No, not at all.
And if he doesn't do great on tracking, you know what? That's probably what you guys want to see.
Right.
You don't want to see a dog somebody monkeyed with for months.
And the way the system, and people don't realize this, why the system was developed. It wasn't developed to be a registry. It was developed to give hunters and breeders an idea of how that litter came out. So when I look at a litter of Broncos that are sold all over the country, and I see it in the magazine, I see their test scores. If I see tracking 3, tracking 2, tracking 3, tracking 2, I'm like,
something they're owned by different people.
I'd like a 4, but I'm seeing some consistent numbers here.
Yeah.
Do I want to bump up my breeding or pay attention to tracking more? Same thing with water. You know, it's not a natural instinct to love water, but it's a good dog shouldn't look at water as anything more intimidating than a front yard or a field. It's just water. It's not the end of the world. So we want to see tracking, and at least this is the way I've been taught over the years. If you see your dog do some tracking, you were right. Don't keep doing this.
No.
Go back to your field work. When time comes, test day comes, they're going to put a 2.5-pound rooster pheasant out in grass. If your dog isn't somewhat interested in the direction that bird went, doesn't have tracking. So why beat it to death?
You don't need to.
You don't need to.
And I think people just do it to the point where it becomes detrimental to a puppy's pointing. And all these dogs doing the NA test are puppies.
Right.
Right? So just go easy on that tracking when they're pups. And, if they don't score well, so be it. It's okay. It doesn't mean you don't have a good dog.
Best dog ever was a 67 no prize German Wirehair.
There you go. Okay, so I'm going to read this one to you because this one has some NAVHDA correlations here. So okay, Ron, pretty new subscriber and very much enjoying all the content, but I've always enjoyed your appearances on Meat Eater. Oh boy, I just got my German Wirehair pointer Doc about a month ago, and he's now 3 months old. First dog that is 100% mine. You remember that feeling? How cool is that? He's got to be excited.
Yep.
It's
like your first kid.
Yeah. With the first dog, I have come to get anxious at little things he's doing or not doing, which I was expecting, and have to be reminded he's just a puppy and relax. I was wondering if you could touch on the beginning stages of raising a versatile hunting dog. With that being said, are there certain behaviors you absolutely do not tolerate from puppies? And are there certain behaviors that you absolutely begin conditioning in puppies outside of normal stuff? You have exposed me to NAVHDA, and I am a huge fan of their core message. Unfortunately, I live in Mississippi, and we don't have a chapter anywhere nearby.
He's right.
And very, very few members in the state at all. Do you have any book recommendations for raising a versatile hunting dog? Thank you so much for the podcast and all the content. Tyler.
Wow, that'd take me a whole podcast to answer.
It would. Well, that's why I put it in your lap.
Yeah.
And you're the NAVDA expert here. So Mississippi Tyler, help him out.
When it comes to, what am I looking for or accepting or tolerating? And Justin, I guess, Justin and I have been friends off and on. I met him 20-some years ago. We've been hanging out and screwing around with dogs for the last 4 or 5 years. He actually probably never met me when I actually trained a dog. So every time I go to Justin's because I'm too busy, he's like, Justin, help me out with this dog. So I'm answering this. It may sound like I've trained a lot of dogs. I haven't, but I've helped a lot of people with their dogs and NAVDA training nights. And one of the reasons I like the group so much is it's almost like a fraternity. You get a lot of new people. You got a few senior people that can help you out. Are we doing the best for every dog? Are we using launchers at the wrong time? Yes. Are we putting the dog on too many birds before they're ready? Yes. But we're like a support group for dog addicts, okay? So there's nothing I look for in a versatile dog. I don't look at any dog all dogs are versatile.
Sure.
Versatile is doing work before and after the shot. That's versatility. Where you have a specialist dog that maybe only does the work after the shot, the retrieving. That would be a specialist dog.
Sure.
Versatile dog is for work before the shot and after the shot. So we want to search, we want to track, or track would come after a shot. So we're looking for both ends before and after the shot. So I can't really give him any advice on puppy behavior. It goes to almost all these questions. When they're puppies, try not to put them in a bad situation. Try not to lead them up, like we just talked about tracking. If you see the dog, you put a track down for a dog, and the people who know what tracking is, we release a pheasant with the flight feathers pulled on one wing feather, on one wing, and ideally in about 6 inches of cover, and it runs off 40, 50, 100 yards. We expect this dog to come down without too much searching and looping to make forward progress. They don't even have to get the bird. They just have to show us that it's that way.
Yeah.
The dog doesn't know where the bird is unless he uses his nose. The judges watch where the bird went. So,
Do you have a Brittany, I think?
what was it? No, German Wirehair Pointer.
Wire hair.
Doc.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wire hair.
Now,
Okay.
I can tell you this much. German Wirehair Pointer should track. Okay.
Sure.
I mean, that's a given. But, when he says, I was wondering if you had touch on the beginning stages of racing a versatile gun dog. I think don't think of it as you're raising a versatile gun dog. Yeah. You're racing a hunting dog, a sporting dog. Get it used to other places, get it used to trips, get it used to dogs, get it used to people. And then you could probably use any of the books and any of the guidelines out there, or this podcast and these question and answers. Don't think of this versatile dog as the second coming of Christ. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's a hunting dog. They've been doing this in Europe for 200 years with these dogs. Here, we've become a little bit more specialist with our dogs, I think, over the years. Mm-hmm. You saw German Shorthairs when you first started working at gyms. Mm-hmm. Would you say they were pretty good in general?
Yes.
Or real good?
Yeah, I would say they're
pretty good to real good.
A high odds bet for a bird dog, yeah.
You almost couldn't go wrong.
Yeah.
And that's one of the original, if you want to call them versatile dogs, the European dogs. So, I don't want to say, is there anything I don't tolerate in puppies? Not based on their versatility,
no,
just based on being a puppy.
And I just hope this guy realizes at 12 weeks old, he doesn't need to be doing any of this yet.
No.
Relax.
3 months old.
Yeah. And just because there's not a NAVDA chapter doesn't mean there isn't a group of dog guys somewhere. There's got to be.
Right.
Somewhere.
Right. In fact, I'm going to tell you, Tyler, you write to me and you send me your phone number. We're going to talk through this some more.
All right.
I like
him. That.
I want him because it gets too deep. It gets too deep.
I read him more often. He's getting big time service from you. So, okay, I got another one for you. We're going to keep going with it. You see what you're going to get yourself into.
Two-part this, or are we all right?
Let's do this one, and then we'll make a game plan here.
Okay.
So, because this is kind of tied into where we're going here.
Yeah.
All right. 2-year, 5-month-old GSP. Name, Too Much Jaeger. Level NAVDA Invitational. So this ain't some pupster here.
No.
This is a big league dog, right? Mm-hmm. Question 1. please share some training strategies / methodologies for the blind retrieve.
Whoa.
Question 2. What are your favorite backing drills? Another question for Ron. If a NAVDA chapter were to offer bottomless Miller Lite and cigars after a long, hot day of fall judging, would anyone you know be interested? Thanks for asking. Cheers, Brandon. All right.
Brandon, little to be known, every NAVDA chapter that calls me knows that they have to have a bottomless, endless supply of Miller Lite. I got to Utah to judge 2 years ago, and I was picked up by a Mormon. And they didn't sell anything besides 3-2 beer. I said, I will never come back to judge in Utah again, ever. So now I got way off the.
They call that Cinderella beer in Kansas.
Do they?
Yeah, there's a couple of dry counties where I hunt quail, and all the locals call it Cinderella beer. I'd never heard that term before.
3.2 beer,
Yeah,
Cinderella beer. Yeah, it makes sense. Too much invitational. Blind retrieve. I mean, it's. I don't want to say it's simple, but I start the blind retrieve is in the invitational is to cross a 100-yard body of water, ideally on one command, with possibly some handling. I went to a lab trainer friend of mine way back in the day, and she literally talked me through it over the phone with her father-in-law with me, because he's a pointing dog guy, and Al and I on the phone with Tracy managed to get my dog to pass the invitational when it came to cross backing and retrieving. But you started on the land, and you start on a small body of water, and it's hard. Yeah, how do you find a 20-yard body of water and then a 30-yard? Because sometimes 40 yards is too much for that dog, And if you try to get down to the corner of the pond where it narrows, the dog wants to go around the bank. So you can have to do, with some dogs, a lot of work finding the right size bodies of water. But I would say get everything down flat on the land first, on basically a golf course type field, then bring it to water. Small water, bigger. That's what I would do for blind retrieve. And yes, that is one of the areas I passed.
Awesome.
Got a 4 in that one.
And I think his other question, when he says
Backing drills.
I think he means honoring in the pointing dog. Yeah.
Pointing dog world. Yeah, honoring.
Yeah.
Backing. I was fortunate to have a dog. That dog was a natural backer. Mm-hmm. Where I made a mistake was people told me, you could be in with a Spinoni, you could be in with a setter. It's not that the dog won't back another dog. I think it's two dogs' personalities off the line sometimes get competitive. Mm-hmm. So I really can't even answer that question.
Yeah.
I used a couple of those automatic pop-up drills when I was by myself. Mm-hmm. Dog saw that thing stand up. But he was a pretty cooperative dog.
Yeah, and they can learn that pretty quick.
Yeah. So I really can't speak to backing much.
Okay.
You messed with...
Oh, sure. I mean, I've been pointing dogs up to my eyeballs my whole life. So
yeah.
Honoring another dog's point is an extension of their pointing. Only it's a visually triggered point versus a scent triggered point.
Right.
Okay. Now there is varying amounts of instinct to do it.
Sure.
But a dog that hunts alone 9 out of 10 hunts and then has a brace mate every now and then isn't really getting enough opportunity for that to just happen on its own.
Right.
Rarely do you see the owner of 2 pointing dogs and he always puts them on the ground together that don't back each other. High percentage of the time, it just happens on its own. They figure that out. You just didn't.
As long as they like each other.
As long as they like each other. Some dogs have a little jealous streak and want to get in there to where they can smell them too.
Right.
You can clean that up with training.
Right.
So it is 100% instinct, but it doesn't always get the opportunity to come up.
Yeah.
Just like any and all steadiness, I mean, at that point, and I don't worry about it with the puppies because they're hunting solo anyways, my first year dogs.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then I really start to think about it once the dog is steady and woe broke. And now I know when he's around that other dog,
got something you can call
I got something
upon.
I can call upon.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't stop when he should have stopped, I can stop him.
Right.
And then he stands there and you walk in there and there goes the bird.
Right.
Eventually the dog's going to go, hey, every time that dog's standing perfectly still, that means there's a bird there.
Right.
And then he should start to do it on his own through repetition.
Yeah.
So that's all it is. I haven't found those silhouettes. I think it's a fine, very initial step. But just when they'll do that, doesn't mean they're going to back their buddy's
it's like
dog.
training with a launcher.
Sure, it's a stepping stone.
It can work for you, but if you rely on that and you think you have it with a launcher or with a pop-up backup, you may not have it yet.
It teaches the initial concept in an efficient manner for a guy who's working a lot of dogs.
Like
Gives you control.
The timing to release it. The timing to come over a hill.
Yeah.
You know, I've trained for that. And you're trying to get the dog over on the other side of a hill that's running, and your buddy says he's on point, and then you come up over the hill. It is easier. Just start right off the bat. Hit that button. Vacuum dog comes up. Dogs will back up a vacuum dog better than they will another dog, though.
Most of the time. Oh yeah.
I mean, mine would.
And not all dogs. Yeah, some of them don't like to back. I don't know what's going on between.
Broccos don't back.
Yeah.
There is a natural backing Brocco this side of Italy.
Sure, so it has to be 100% mechanically instilled into the dog.
And I don't
when
like
you
that
see
about
another
it, but
dog
it's
standing
the way it
there,
is.
you have to stop.
You know what my dog thinks when he sees dogs pointing? That they quit.
Right, or they're taking a leak or something.
Hey, aren't we hunting? Yeah, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
What do you think we got time for?
Well, let's. Why don't we just take a little break here and let's reconnoiter what we're sitting on left, and we'll go from there.
All right.